Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Hotline League. If you're listening to the audio, I understand audio is maybe not as good as it normally sounds. I am on the road, so my audio setup is a little different. Cubby still got his, but he's got a cold, so he's
Oh
gonna
yeah.
have a
Thanks
different
for
type
routing
of
me out, Travis.
a
Yeah.
different type of audio issue. But we appreciate him doing the show regardless. It's very nice of him. And yeah, it's been the other thing, by the way, is that we are streaming this at 720p because I am on Riot Games generously offered media in North America for the first time the ability to get a room at a hotel, which in the past I would not have been able to take, but I think um, we live at different times esports wise, so do want to mention that. But the internet here, because I think there's a bunch of Riot people in this hotel, it's just getting choked pretty hard. So we'll see if we drop any frames. I've lowered resolutions and bit rates and a bunch to try to accommodate. So hopefully things are good, but please bear with us if we have any technical issues. But yeah, I'm in Vancouver. Cubby, how are you doing besides the cold?
I'm doing all right. I was at my cousin's wedding this past weekend, picked up a cold out there, so it was really fun to see him get married. Uh, fun fact, he was actually the person that introduced me to League too, like going way back in season 2. So that was kind of fun to go out there, and there were a couple of friends that he had that like we all used to play together. So it was fun to catch up with them and hear about their normal lives, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's still going?" I was like, "Yeah, it's still going." So yeah, that was a good time.
That is,
How's Vancouver been, Travis? How's the venue and everything?
yeah, so Vancouver's great. I love Vancouver. I really do. I've spent a ton of time in Vancouver over the years. I feel like on
Great city.
average I come here about once a year or so, once every 18 months. And I am so happy that MSI affords me an excuse to be here for basically 3 weeks. The I love summer in Vancouver where it's 7 o'clock and the sun still won't set for another like 2.5 hours. So it's very, very nice to be able to go out in the evenings. Unfortunately, almost all of the games start at like 5, so I don't know how many evenings I will enjoy. I mean, some of them start at 12, and then I guess we'll probably get out early if those games go quick. But yeah, it's been great. Have had some really, really great food. Vancouver, some of the best food that I ever find in any city.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, in terms of the venue, this is the same venue that was there in 2017. It is pretty old and pretty basic, so I look, it's fine, and Riot's doing the best that they can with it. But it's just whenever you need a venue for 3 weeks in Vancouver, there's not like a lot of great options. But the funny thing is, the area around the venue is really nice because it's at like I don't know how to describe it. Like, I guess this is where they do their like state fair equivalent, and there's like a small theme park nearby, and like a horse racing track and all this stuff. So
Is there a
there's a lot of
farmer's
nice
market
areas.
nearby? I remember there being like a really cool farmer's market
I think
in Vancouver.
so. Oh, well, sorry,
Yeah.
I don't think it's near the venue, but it is, I think, near me, because without doxing myself, I'm kind of near
I highly
Granville.
recommend anyone that wants
Yeah,
to, make the trek for that. It's very cool.
yeah. So it's pretty cool. And then like the fans that have been showing up for MSI have been particularly awesome. I think it's been a long time since we've had an international event in North America, since Worlds 2022. So it's been a long time since I've been able to go to one of these events and just like meet people. But I have shout out to the individual who gave me a little bracelet that they made. They were making these LTA win bracelets and handing them out, sort of with a bracelet culture for like concerts and shows and stuff like that.
Yep.
So that was really sweet. And yeah, it's been really, really great. So yeah. We should mention, by the way, that Jamada will be joining us later on in the show. Right now, he's on Power Spike, so he will be joining us whenever he's done. But yeah, we can chat for a little bit beforehand, maybe take a call or two, and then he'll be great for some of our international takes about MSI. But yeah, no, it's been really good. What have you thought of the game so far?
So I was playing a little bit of catch up today. I've been like roughly following, but obviously I tried to stay more present with the family out there. Uh, I mean, I think that fans got everything they wanted with this event. It's fearless draft. It's only best of fives. It's double elimination, and so far the series have been delivering a lot of fun. So I've had a blast so far. I think that like the talk that we've had of past weeks of wishing that there were more teams here. Obviously, only having one NA rep and 2 LTA reps as a whole is a bit of a bummer, but man, I the tournament format itself, I think so far it's been great. So again, I have a lot of issues, like, trying to find anything to poke holes in with this. I've
Yeah.
really enjoyed the series. I think that Furia and GAM made things way more fun than GAM's always a fun team, so they always make a tournament better, but, Furia was a team that I've watched a little bit as, like, Tatu won the Tier 2 Americas tournament, and ThinkCard helps out with them. So I'd seen some of their tape, and I know their AD is really good too, so I was glad they played better than what a lot of fans expected, 'cause I think a lot of fans just wrote them off as being a bad team, and yeah, they might be out first in the tournament, but, they definitely got a lot of respect gained, at that event too, so,
Well, and
I've had a
normally
blast.
play-ins are like most people skip it, and they don't find it particularly interesting. That's something that's more for
Yeah,
like the hardcore fans who care about, some of the smaller regions or something like that. But these plans in particular have delivered, and part of that obviously is that we've downsized the amount of regions out there, so you kind of hyper focus on some of these other teams that are um, a bit closer in strength. But I do think it is. I don't know the last time that we had an international event where play-ins was finished and there was like a Reddit thread that's like, "Oh my God, this tournament is great. I'm loving it so much." Normally you get a thread that's like, "Today I learned that MSI had started. I didn't even know that there were games going." Blah blah blah. So, yeah, I agree with you that it's been delivering a lot. The games have been good and very fun. I mean, part of that is because G2 seems to. I'm sure we'll talk about them, but they seem
they've
to
kept things
be.
exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's a good
yeah.
way of putting it. So, yeah, as always, I do wish that C9 was here. I echo Broken Blade. I did an interview with him. I don't know if you saw where he was saying that he
Yep.
thinks it's a pity that C9's not here because he's been scrimming them with G2. So, do wish that they were in plans. I think it would have been really fun. So, yeah,
Oh,
it is what it is.
I mean, I think it's not a hot take at all that if C9 was here, it'd be really clear that the LTA North is the third strongest region at this
Yeah,
event. I mean, we haven't seen FlyQuest play yet, so who knows? Maybe I'll eat my words next week. But like from what we've seen so far with G2 and just like knowing where C9's at and the reputation behind the scenes too, I really feel like if both teams were here, it'd be pretty clear who the third best region was. So
yeah,
yeah,
I think that's fair. And maybe we'll see that, you know, in this on Wednesday whenever FlyQuest wins, right, Cubby?
it's gonna be closer than what folks think. That's all I'll say.
Okay,
I have AL on the pickums, but I might have a rematch of them later on with
okay,
a Hopium FlyQuest win in the lower
nice.
bracket. So yeah.
I Yeah, I'm very excited about this week's games. I think it'll be cool, and we'll see how things go. All right. I do want to give a big shout out to NZXT, our sponsor. We'll be talking more about them later on in the call. And then I also want to give a shout out to Enchanted Travel, who helped send me on a trip recently. I talked about them in the last episode, and they've been in some of the outros on the videos that I've been posting. But yeah, they've been fantastic. We'll talk more about them as the show continues. But besides MSI Cubby, there's been some other news this week that I don't know how much we're going to spend time on, but there was the Riot being finally open to letting gambling sponsors come in, which we've heard
Yep.
rumors of for a long time. That's why I say finally.
Yep.
Obviously, for people that have listened to this show, there's debate on how fantasy products are daily fantasy products are designated, but Prize Picks has been on the a sponsor of the show previously, so just take that for what it's worth as we talk about the stuff. But yeah, that got announced. I don't think that we're going to spend too much time on the Fnatic news, but it was funny in light of the MSI event to have a little bit of international stuff. Anything else? I guess there's been a couple roster changes, right?
I mean, EU went nuts with roster changes.
Yeah.
We have Melrang swapping to support. Uh, Poby playing for Fnatic, which I find bonkers. And careful what you wish for in terms of Humanoid being out. Uh, some of the discussion around like all that in EU too. I find almost so frustrating because there's so many like there are some like it's been at least with Poby, everyone was like, this is a bad move, right? Obviously, nothing against Poby. He's just not a great player. There are other better mids that are in his league in LCKCL than Poby. It's just funny to see Fnatic just make head scratching moves, especially after I thought that adding Mickey X was actually a really nice piece for them. I mean, if there's a G2 take later on, I'm gonna say they should go get Mickey X again because I feel like he just makes the team work creatively. I think how he plays with the team, that's on that roster.
Yeah.
So I that's been a lot of news in EU. I know the one NA news we actually had a take on that we may or may not take, but it was about Griffin going over to Loud for the LTA South. So that's pretty cool. Good for Griffin. Definitely a young player that people are excited of. Another T1 alum. Played for the amateur team and going to be in the LTA South reportedly next split, which should be very fun.
Yeah. We should mention, by the way, that we did not do an episode last week. I was both traveling and also, unfortunately, had a passing in my family in the past week, which I'm fine with. But obviously, I'm like holding up fine and everything. But um, I was supporting other family members through that. So that's what kept us out of last week's episode. But I do feel bad for that because I know that, it would have been good to do an MSI preview episode. Sorry about that. Uh,
That takes priority, Travis. I,
yeah,
I I think you're all good there. Yeah.
yeah. It's just the timing and everything. It
Yeah.
was. I tried to figure out if we could make it work, but it was not going to happen. But if there's any news from the week before that we haven't had a chance to cover, I would love to make sure that we could do, a call in on that. I don't. I Part of the reason why I also didn't feel bad skipping that week was I'm pretty sure there wasn't anything that really got announced. Like we it would have mostly been a MSI preview episode for plans, but uh, yeah, if anybody has any calls or any takes or anything like that, that's happened, maybe 10 days ago or 11 days ago. Feel free
Yeah.
to put that into the takes. So, I was asked by Numi, my community manager, to promote something, which is she wrote, I don't know if you want to do this, but during Hotline League tonight, can you mention you have a pick'ems board and the winner gets gifted a MSI skin in the client? LOL. I figure it might as well get more people to interact in your server too. Also hope MSI is fun. I like seeing all your picks and interviews from Media Day. Thank you, Numi. But the if you want to do pick'ems, you can go join my Discord, which is discord.gg/Travis. And we do have a pick'em board, and apparently the winner is getting gifted a skin. I believe compliments of Numi, because she didn't come by. She didn't ask for approval from me for that. So I'm not paying for it, but she is. So there you go. Did you do pick'ems, Cubby?
I did. I've not shared mine yet, but I did.
Are you gonna submit them into the thing to try to win the MSI skin?
I don't think I need to take the skin, Travis, but I will say that for play-in stage, I had the two teams advancing in, I guess, the right order, but I had the Gam Furia match wrong. So, oh well, go Furia.
Yeah,
We got 40 out of 70. Not terrible.
yeah, not bad.
Not
Feels
terrible.
feels like there was. Oh, the last thing. I know we've been doing a lot of prereq. We're kind of stalling for Jamada, but
Yeah.
on Sunday there are no MSI games. If you live in the Greater Vancouver area, I am going to try to do a like TGI community meetup and play Magic with people. So I'm working on trying to get a venue. I was talking to Stronghold, Magic Stronghold, which is a store up here that I've done stuff at before. So hopefully we'll be able to do something on Sunday if not other places. But if you are interested in playing Magic with me, and I believe Kangas might be joining. I was just talking to him and he's going to be in town. He said he might be down. Then please go join the Discord that I'm in and hang out in the Magic channel because I'll probably be posting information there. Discord.gg/Travis. So just a thing. If you want to play some Magic, go hit me up there. All right. Is it time for calls, Cubby?
We got a couple we can yoink early.
Okay.
So yeah.
Do you want to explain how the show works?
Yeah, as we kill more time for Jamada. But if you guys want to call in, go to discord.gg/Travis, uh, at me, at Cubby with your take, and then please wait around in the Discord so we can drag you into the waiting room. If you have takes, feel free to give multiple. I will say we're still looking for a gambling take. We might take that earlier on because Jamada may or may not want to be involved in that one. And of course, later on we can, find. There was a Griffin take. I don't know if there are any other roster takes that you're interested in,
I mean,
Travis,
I'm
but
mostly interested in MSI. Like, I feel like
yeah, me too.
we're like with plans and everything. This should just be mostly focused on MSI.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, it's been a fun
yeah,
event so far.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think
All right.
if people have hot takes around MSI, that's a good time to call it. So, yeah,
Oh, we may or may not start with one, but here goes.
great. Okay, off Cubby goes to grab somebody. Thank you to the Noblet for 60 months. Holy moly! Dylan Ose, thank you for the 6 months. Wild, thank you for 65. Says hi, Travis. Hi, Cubby. Hello. And Christabel, thank you for the 90 months. That is crazy. Thank you, Christabel. Really appreciate that. Over on YouTube, we have no super chats or members, but we hold out for the day. Oh, wait, Bob and George just gifted one. Thank you, Bob and George. Oh, that is very loud. I've just fixed that. That is the alert sound for a YouTube member joining, and I guess it popped up because I haven't had a chance to mute it yet. So my apologies. We're switching to a PC with some of the settings that I normally have not set up. So it is. I don't have my beautiful NZXT desktop in front of me, and I miss it. All right, we have Whale here. Whale, where are you calling from?
I'm Vancouver, Canada.
Vancouver, Canada. Here you are in the same city. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I think that AL are frauds, basically because like the LPL, like during the regular season, it was like such a mess with like BLG swapping junglers, like IG being like really coin flip, TES being like international chokers, and like honestly, AL winning, I don't see them as like a really good team, and like Fly can beat them.
You didn't want to save this one for Jamada, Cubby? This is like,
You know what? I tried to go with Yami, and Yami is in a blender right now, sadly.
oh,
But this is a hot start for sure.
yeah,
I
okay.
appreciate some of the FlyQuest Hopium. I know that in the Discord you said specifically you think they're gonna 3-2 AL, yeah?
Yeah, and like AL are still a good team, but like I don't think they're like that good. Like I think people are rating them too high because of like all this shit stuff that's happened in the LPL. Like it's like the consequence of the stuff that happened in the LPL. That Ale is really good. That Ale is the first seed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, okay. Well, I mean, it's hard to look at the roster of AL and
I
feel
got
as
you.
though like they're not going to be um to look at those players and be like, oh, they're frauds. But Whale, maybe you can explain a little bit more on this before I throw it over to Cubby. Whale.
What?
Uh,
Sorry, I cut out a bit. Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. I was just saying maybe you could explain a little bit. Why do you think that they are frauds? Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Well, generally, I like from what I see when they play, they just like fight like for no reason at all. Like a lot of the time, like they just
Quite a lot.
engage. When it's bad, they just fight, just keep going forward. There's no like back off. They just keep fighting, and I think that's just not going to work against like West.
Okay. Um, Look, I think that the FlyQuest AL matchup it should be closer than where a lot of people have it right now. For me, it's more likely that this one goes to 5 than it being a 3-0 for sure. Um, I think that if you're an NA fan, like you should be pretty excited about FlyQuest. The This team, we've already seen them challenge quality teams 6 months ago at an international stage. I think that some pieces have gotten better, some pieces have not. I think my greatest hope for FlyQuest is that Bwipo shows up on the international stage, which I think that he's done historically, even if he hasn't had the best or most consistent regular seasons. Um, I'm really excited for Inspired versus Tarzan. I mean, I think those are two fantastic junglers that get to go head to head. For me, Tarzan was probably the best player in LOL history to not hoist a domestic title until they actually won to get here, which is pretty cool. Um, but the funny thing for me about this matchup is that I think it's actually like pretty similar in terms of how the teams are built. Like I would say that each team has the best player in the jungle. Thunder and Bwipo are definitely like the old heads with experience that play tanks and are willing to like 4-1, will drop the right waves to make plays. That's how Flandre's always had a job in the LPL, and that's how Bwipo has like been at his best here. Hope and Kyle, definitely a younger bot lane, more experienced than Masu and Busio, but it's the same build for FlyQuest. And then Shanks was always good at WE and just ended up finding his way to AL and like actually being a very good mid that was able to win LPL, right? Whereas, of course, Quad was kind of the rehabilitated LCK player that is beat his stage fright and is a little bit stronger now. So I would not call AL frauds. I would call, even after BLG went 3-0, 3-0, I'd be quicker to call BLG frauds than AL. I really would. I think that the the diagnosis I always give for LPL fans coming in or non-LPL fans coming in is that AL Like if I had to really oversimplify these two teams, AL is the team with brains, BLG is the team with brawn, right? Like this team is just going to brute force you to try and win early. Whereas AL, like I think their coach in Tabe was actually really taking advantage of a lot of the mistakes that LPL teams were making in draft. I think a lot of analysts have actually been really good at hitting that to the point where like I think it's almost been hit on too much, and they shouldn't have the same advantage against FlyQuest, who I think can play a pretty wide pool. And I respect their ability to draft and like play comps that can win games a lot. So that for me, it's just a question of like I feel like it's two pretty similar teams clashing, and I give AL the edge in probably the solo lanes. I'm just really hoping that this tournament inspired in Busio. Busio didn't have a great final, but Busio had a great season. And I'm really hopeful that those two could be a really good jungle support duo, because with everyone being locked in at lanes, it really is on your jungle support to change lanes. And if those guys can do that, then I actually feel pretty good about FlyQuest. I do have FlyQuest as potentially a top 4 team this tournament, and a lot of other people do as well. I was a little bit surprised that so many folks do, but it makes me happy because I think that on the tape, like I can see them being a team that can compete here. So I really hope they're able to do so.
My concern, Cubby, is that normally whenever people actually believe North America could do something, that is when we have our most disastrous international events. So,
True.
hearing you say that a lot of people seem to be believing in FlyQuest makes me a little nervous. I don't know.
TL put them all top 4. They had their tier lists.
Yeah.
It's not bad. A lot of other folks saying they're like top, pretty much like 4 to 6 is where they're at. I feel like Gen G, AL, and T1 are the 3 best teams in the tournament. I'd put them. We'll see what kind of form T1 has, because I mean, it could be another tournament where T1 shows up and it's like, oh, they're not going to win this time, and like after day 1, it's like, oh god, they're just the best team here. How many times has that happened before, right?
So
Um,
you said you have that match being 5 games with AL getting the 3 wins.
yeah, I think AL 3-2s.
Okay. How does FlyQuest 3-2? In what world?
Ooh, I think Blippo and Busio need to have good days, and I think you got to be wary of or take away some champs from Shanks. For me, I Hope for me is a really good AD. I I don't know if Hope is like the peak like Thanos level AD that we sometimes see from players like Viper Ruler. Um, I think really highly of Kael. I think Kael is like the only support in this tournament that can compete with the Korean supports coming over, as that role like in LCK is just a lot deeper than it is in LPL. Um, yeah, I feel like it's kind of you have to neutralize Shanks and take away some of his champs because he'll be willing to play assassins or like play hard to win lane. Uh, and then I'm I don't know if the top meta from what we've seen so far is better or worse for Blippo, because I see a lot of champs that can actually play pretty well that's up there. So yeah,
Yeah. I I mean I want to believe that FlyQuest can pull this off. I do think that FlyQuest is one of the stronger teams. This iteration of FlyQuest that we're sending is one of the stronger teams that we've seen in a minute, and I do appreciate that they can kind of ride the world's success that they had last year. I mean, success relative to North America, and I'm hopeful that that will give them some confidence. I did an interview with Inspired that went up today where he was like, "Yeah, we think we could maybe take a best of 5 somewhere." Well, I wonder how scrims are going for those guys, but I the other thing that he was saying was that he does believe that there is an advantage to the event being on North American soil, especially
and to
as
play
the
worse
tournament
solo
goes
queue.
on. Exactly,
Yep,
that's part of
yep.
it. Is that he feels like people are gonna get frustrated by the solo queue experience. I am surprised they didn't do. I mean, I guess we haven't seen this in other regions for a bit, but like they didn't even bother to try to do Champions Queue this year. And maybe there just weren't enough players or enough teams because they did it at Worlds 2022. And I know Champions Queue is like not really a thing as much these days, but like it would have been interesting for them to bring it back for this. But
Would have
maybe
loved to
just didn't.
co-stream it.
Yeah,
I think that the player base though, like I don't know if there's enough, because when they did it, it was required that the LCS teams at the time had academy teams, and then there were also some tier 3 players that grinded really hard. Like that's how Yukino was partly discovered in the champs queue, right?
Yeah.
For Worlds. So yeah, I am bummed about that. I enjoyed co-streaming those a lot back in the day, and I think that's a decent shout because I don't know if the players felt like it was better or worse overall. What kind of ends up happening with that is like whenever it starts up, it's fine, and then like players start to beef with each other, and then it kind of goes downhill because like they'll refuse to queue if someone else is in queue. Um, yeah, it's
Wait,
small, but
wait,
it is
really?
what it
That's
is.
a thing?
Oh yeah, no, 100% a thing. I had multiple players just talking to me like I will not queue if this guy is in queue. And that's like part of the reason it died. Yeah. It's very small from the players, but that is 100% a thing.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
By the way, folks, I'm working on trying to get myself turned up. I know people say that I'm kind of quiet, so I'm doing what I can to rival the volume of Cubby. I've also turned him down a bit, so hopefully we'll see something. But keep giving me feedback. All right, Whale, what do you think of all of this?
I think that like feel like my comments I over exaggerated a bit, but I do think that FlyQuest do have a good chance of taking down AL, just because of how the LPL teams were looking at in the regular season. Like they were looking pretty weak, and that Fly, they have their world performance was like pretty good, and they have like a really strong jungler to match Tarzan. So I feel like they have a good chance.
Yeah. I've like when FlyQuest were playing at Worlds, I felt like they had more of an identity than what we see now. I'm really hoping that we see some form of identity from them in this tournament. Because again, I felt like at Worlds, like they're really committed to playing scaling and bending and not breaking. And that worked out really well for them and their players. Because like Masu is a fantastic team fighter. Like Quad always knows his job. Like uh I was worried in the LTA North that they were playing scaling comps too fast and too aggressively. And as you said, AL always fights, which they do fight a lot. I think part of that was just the series that we had in the LPL playoffs, but they do like to fight. Um, I I'm a bit concerned about that for FlyQuest, but again, I would probably give them a 35% chance to win, 35 to 40, and I have this being 3-2 for
We
AL.
like those odds.
I have the sneaky lower bracket run from FlyQuest. My biggest thing about this is that if you're going to call one of the LPL teams fraudulent, I think it's BLG. I think that there's like clear game plans and ways to beat BLG, and they haven't shown a deep enough pool in games 4 and 5 to be consistently effective. So that's something I'm looking out for them to see if they solved throughout the season or throughout the tournament.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for calling in. Is there anything else that you would like to shout out here at the end, Whale?
Yeah, just a few shout outs. I'd like to shout out my friends Brian, Leslie, Shaquille, and Dimitri, and I'd like to shout out G2 because they're going to win MSI.
Well, what? Come on, you were supposed to be giving us the FlyQuest hope, but now you're saying G2 is going to win MSI?
Yeah.
Did you watch their play-ins games?
Yeah, I was there on site.
Okay. Did was there like something that
This
was?
isn't helping the FlyQuest hopium.
Yeah,
That's all I'm going
I'm
to say. Yeah.
yeah.
huffing a lot of copium, but like I feel like they can do it. G2's going to win
Okay.
MSI.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm
It's the
glad
lower bracket run.
I'm
Good luck.
glad you had such a good time at the games. Either way, thank you so much, Whale, for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Jamada says he's about 15 minutes out, so hopefully we'll be able to grab him after this next call. But Cubby, do you want to go grab our next caller?
Yeah, I might save the next caller that we have because Jamada will be interested in it.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Well,
Uh,
happy to grab other folks.
let me dig for a sec. We also have yet to have a gambling take. If anyone
Yes.
wants to give that.
If here's what
Uh,
we'll do. If somebody doesn't have a take, it's interesting because I'm surprised nobody wants to talk about it because it feels like the reaction from the community was very strong. But I don't know if they were just sort of doing the I'm frustrated at Riot and so Riot bad take on that, and they don't actually feel that strongly about it. But yeah, if you don't see one in the Discord, then we could just kind of talk through it right now.
let's see if someone wants to give the gambling take real quick.
Okay, cool. Well,
As
while you do that, thank you to Taco Bowl for 82 months. Some of you guys are crazy. Spud Tugger for 37, Notorious Bubble for 46, Fishy for 25, Dixie Cup for 33, Director Donut for 46. Really appreciate all that. Over on YouTube, we still have that one membership gifted from Bob and George, but Thank you, Bob and George. You're holding it down exclusively for the YouTube folks. By the way, I will say now's a good time to get a YouTube membership because it is difficult at these international events for me to post like multiple videos all at once like I used to on YouTube because like the YouTube algorithm has just changed and it really hates whenever you post like more than one video a day. But there are a lot of videos. I do post all of them up immediately for members. So, for instance, there's a bunch right now. I don't have the Doran one up because I'm waiting for translation on it, but there's a Doran one in the pipeline. I guess I could stick it up for members right now, then people who could just see it, and if they know Korean, they could watch it. But uh, but other than that, we've got a couple of the can, and we're going to be doing a members only video for June. It'll be a little delayed because we have to do it, but we're going to do a vlog of stuff. I actually, I'm playing hooky a little bit from tomorrow's matches. I don't know if I'll be there the whole time or not, but I'm going to be doing Canada Day stuff because I got invited to celebrate Canada Day, which is like the Canadian Independence Day or 4th of July equivalent. And so I'm gonna go check that out. All right, we have our first caller, our second caller of the evening. I'm losing my mind. Acklon. Acklon, where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from New York State.
New York State. I think your audio setup is nicer than mine. What do
Thank
you
you.
what do you want to talk about on the show?
So I believe I got pulled for a gambling take. I believe that the sports betting coming into esports is a foregone conclusion, and it's not as bad as everyone's making it out to be.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you expand on this?
Well, to me, like I watch a number of North American sports stuff, most notably the NFL, and as much as there is a lot of problems that can come out of like players sports betting on their own games or the other types of problems that can do with that, I think that that just comes out of regulations to get rid of. I don't think that in and of itself it's toxic to the culture of any sport or esport that it's part of, because it just makes it so that you have a way, another way, and obviously monetization is a big thing that they're going for here, but you have another way for people to engage with the content, and you have a, I mean, everything's about clicks and interactions on the internet, so you have an even larger stream of that by including sports betting.
Yeah, I I guess I'll lead with this. So, look, as I said before, we work with Prize Picks. Prize Picks is uh, daily fantasy, which is depending on how you feel about daily fantasy. Either some people consider it, some people don't. I think that's part of the way the government regulations around it work. But but we're going to be doing an episode of that show right after this one, so I just want to be fully transparent on it. But I think what I could do is talk a little bit about why I felt comfortable taking on Prize Picks as a partner, which is that I feel like these types of things are I look at them the way that I look at alcohol, which I think is like fine to be legal, and it's important to do these things, to consume alcohol. It's important to, if you're going to do sports gambling or something like that, do it in moderation, do it responsibly. And I think it's important that as long as there's like regulations and rules around it, and that the people who struggle with it can get help, that I don't think you should prevent or block people from having access to it. Um, so that's why I didn't have that big of a deal with it. And the other thing that made me, I saw some people tagging me being like, Travis, you got to go in on Riot for this. Like, this is another example of their greed or whatever. I'm like, well, I don't think that they're
Not
going
at
to be
all.
making any money from this because they've said that
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to put any on the broadcast. They're not allowing teams to put logos or anything like on their jerseys. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, and I don't think they were particularly clear about this in the article. I kind of wish they were, but I believe that there's no way for players to promote these themselves, like these services themselves.
shouldn't be, and that's good because
And
that's the
so,
one with the NBA that I don't like because
the,
the like NBA players can promote gambling services, and I do not like that.
oh, they can? I did not know that.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I do not like it at all.
Yeah, I don't like that. I think it's
Yeah.
not great when you have players who are promoting it. But I don't know. I think overall it's fine for the people to have access to this if they like. But I think, especially as long as the players cannot promote it, you're gonna see this stuff in a pretty limited way, right? Where like, yeah, the teams can accept these sponsors, but they're going to have to figure out like very creative ways to be able to promote it. It'll be relegated to side content. It's like, I mean, not to go down this route, but like EWC is all over MSI. I have more of an issue with that
Yes.
than I do with
Yes.
any of this stuff. And I'm not trying to
Yes.
say like, well, what about, that makes this fine? Because I understand that like just because EWC is all over the broadcast doesn't necessarily mean that that excuses other stuff. But like, I just like I don't think of it as like an inherent immoral activity. So that is why I am okay with it. And I've have people in my family who have a history of struggling with this type of stuff. So um, I understand that it is not like a thing that is easy for everybody. But you know, as I said, similar to alcohol, I feel like you probably shouldn't restrict everyone from being able to have access to it. So that's kind of my take.
Yeah, like I got into other national sports by doing fantasy. I didn't do it for any serious amount of money. I did like $1 or $2 with friends, but it got me to engage with the format or engage with the sport. And I think that that's more of what this is for, is to get more people to engage. And I'm perfectly cool with that because we definitely need it here in NA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Look, I actually think that Riot like was way too cautious with this. If I'm gonna be honest, like I'll talk a little bit like about what's going on with sports and like other esports, but like there are things that I do and don't agree with. As someone that obviously we're sponsored by Prize Picks, but also like I I was at home in Illinois this weekend. Like my cousins and I for the wedding, we made a group parlay for the day. Like we enjoyed that, right? Uh, Other games like there are some levels that I'm not comfortable with. Like, for example, I think there was a clip that went viral with Cadril where he was watching the CS major and he saw their betting promotion where like the game zoomed out so it was smaller on the screen and they had all the player prop bets like on the side, like up and down. Like for me, that's on the main broadcast. Like I think that's a little bit too much.
Yeah.
But also like look, I don't know international law, but I know for a fact that a lot of the teams are frustrated that they are not allowed to put gambling sponsors on their jerseys. That is a huge sale that they can make and actually try to consume, more for themselves. And for me, like you look at, English Premier League, they have gambling sponsors on their jerseys. You look at what's going on with like football and baseball and basketball stadiums, they're putting sports books within the stadiums. Like this is something that's coming to Wrigley Field for the Chicago Cubs. Like I don't know if I'm thrilled about that either, but pretty much like if you don't get your hand in the pot, there's going to be an ability to gamble on this that is outside the game. Like if you wanted to, you could have gambled on stake or Bovada because they use a lot of crypto and like international. They kind of live outside some of the jurisdictions that uh, other sites can have. I'd rather actually work with regulations to make sure that this is better regulated than to actually have those options. Uh, so for me, like I feel like Riot waited about 5 years too long to do this. And also, when they did allow it through, I think that they could have went harder. And look, I know that like this will turn some people off. I know that gambling addiction is a huge issue, but I don't see an issue with it. And I would again, I said this last year around EWC. Like I'd rather be taking that money than or the gambling money than EWC money. I think that that's actually a better way to go about this. That's a lot more native to what we have going on in this country. I understand internationally that might be different, but why are we gonna let international law uh, at least restrict like what we have here? Isn't there a way to make sure that we just don't show those sponsors like for this broadcast if it does like actually dispute law there? Because if like that's something that Riot could do that would actually really help the teams like be able to make more money. Because for me, that's the big thing that they're limiting that I don't understand. Especially
Yeah,
again when we see it in other sports.
that is, and this is the ignorance, both you and I are ignorant to this topic. We're not international lawyers or anything like that. But
Yeah,
it is interesting to me that teams can get away with this in other sports. And maybe part of it is that some of these other tournaments are not being run by like the
the game dev.
publisher. Yeah. So
That I assume that there is something there too.
yeah.
I'm not an expert on this, but for sure, there's a lot of liability you take on there.
Yeah. I could see it being a situation where like Riot lawyers are like, guys, like this will barely impact our bottom line if we do this, but it could open us up to legal repercussions. Whereas like for a DreamHack or IEM or something like that, there are huge financial upsides for it that are worth the liability risk. So I don't know. I hear what you're saying, Cubby. I think I'd rather them start with, oh yeah, we can't have them on the jerseys and then get there eventually if like this starts to feel better versus like us just opening the floodgates. But I I don't know. I think this is fine, and it's interesting because like I wonder where the disconnect is because if you go to the league subreddit and you look at people's reactions to this, I think also on Twitter maybe there was like a ton of people that are like, right, sucks, right, evil, right, bad. Like we couldn't get a caller on the show who was like, I want to call in and say that this sucks a lot, and then like looking in,
There
uh,
was one take for both.
oh, there was, okay, yeah, we
Yeah.
could have pulled the other person too.
Yeah,
Um,
they deleted the take, but yeah.
oh, they did, okay, oh, that's too
Yeah. It's all
bad.
good.
But yeah, we like even in chat here, I feel like mostly people are like whatever about it, and they're like move on, let's talk about MSI. So I don't know, it got a lot of conversation going over the week, which is why I think it's important for us to like have a take on it. But like it's hard because I think you, me, and even our caller Acklon are all kind of like, yeah, I don't think this is as big of a deal as it needs to be. So
I wonder if this is them just trying to normalize the concept in the little space, because as you're saying, there's a lot of internet Reddit people or otherwise that are really avidly against it. It sounds like I don't know how big that is, but I wonder if this is to try and like make it seem more okay, and then they bring it through in next season or something. I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, you know what? People would also be way more against, like actually charging money to watch the broadcast. Like again, like you
Yeah.
can't have a free product and like also limit money coming into teams like this. I feel like it's not a winning formula overall. So that's also part of the reason why I think they should have been a little bit more lenient with some of the restrictions that are going to be on teams here.
Y-
I for the record, by the way, players should not be able to promote this. The fact that the NBA does that is dumb as hell. Like just today, there were multiple reports coming out from Shams about players who are being investigated for gambling on their own games. This is something that like is an issue. And also, I will say, I'm what they said about where the money will go towards with tier two. Look, I obviously with Vietnam in the past, it's that's tough. Like that region was partly nuked because of the gambling ring that existed there with fixing games. I know that in tier two, like there was an incident that was really shoved under the rug that you ask anyone in tier two, they know of. It was not reported on. Someone in the chat said LDL as well. There are a lot of issues that can come with this, but I am hoping that they at least are able to keep the game clean and also make sure that uh, like if the money's going back in the tier two, I'm a little bit skeptical. So like I'll wait and see what ends up happening. But I do hope they're able to use that to build up more grassroots tournaments because that's something that I feel like is lacking. And with the new path to promotion, it really feels like summer only matters in tier two because that's the only time that you play for a promotion relegation spot over here in the Americas. So yeah,
Yeah, the one thing I realized I should have mentioned is I do hope that Riot is thinking about the implications of this if gambling gets much bigger, because you do have like the only thing that is kind of concerning is you have people who become incredibly financially incentivized to figure out how to manipulate the games. And I don't even necessarily mean like uh like the players themselves throwing the matches, but I do think like you have people who will send threats to players, or you will have people who, I don't know, they just do crazy weird shit because they're like, I have a lot of money on the line, and maybe they freak out about a player, underperforming or something. They get weird about it. So I hope that Riot is considering how to protect players and the sport from that type of thing. But quite frankly, as you mentioned, Cubby, that stuff was going to be and has been for a while
yeah,
involved anyway. So if
that's why it's good to regulate it for me.
yeah,
Again, yeah.
yeah. So awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much, Acklon, for the call. Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
I'll shout out that if gambling was bigger in esports right now, I would have been betting on MCoy to lose in round one to CFO because the Flying Oysters are just so much better than them. So, like,
Oh,
Well,
I'm rooting for
Otherwise, have a
Figo.
good one.
yeah, thanks
Yeah.
so much for the call. Catch you later.
That's fun. He had a take about MCoy being a little fraudulent, which
Oh,
I
okay,
think he
okay.
was hoping to
Is
give
that
to
what
the
just
Galaxy
today's
fan one.
show is going to end up being? Is everybody calling it and saying every team is fraudulent?
Yeah,
Um,
I mean that's the biggest dopamine hit you can get in social media, Travis. It's being a little bit of a bad boy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Well, a couple of different things while we wait for our friend Jamada. I don't know, Cubby, if you want to message him and sort
I'll
of see
ping him.
where he's at, but thank you to. Let's see where we at. Well, a bunch of people came in and sub. Thank you, Director Donut, Dark Turconis, Gurnt gifted 10 subs. Thank you, Gurnt. That is very, very generous and very helpful. You're helping. That's like one of my meals in Vancouver. We don't have a sponsor for our MSI coverage, so I'm kind of doing this all out of pocket because I'm not going to miss an international event in North America. But thank you, Husbust, for the 47 months. The Eater of People for 19, JB for 28. And then over on YouTube, Bob and George gifted 5 subs, and AZ became a member as well. So thank you, everybody over on YouTube and Twitch. We might not have a sponsor directly for our MSI coverage, but we are very, very lucky and pleased to have NZXT as a sponsor for Hotline League. They are a fantastic partner and have been around with us for a year now. We announced at June of last year that they were coming on to support the show. And they've been a fantastic partner. They make amazing products. You can go check those out at nzxt.co/Travis. You can see the PC that I use for the show and all sorts of other products that they have available there. And when you do use that link, also, whenever you decide to pick up a product, use code Travis5 to save 5%. A lot of that stuff stacks with what they're doing, and I believe I've heard a rumor that they have a summer sale going on right now. In fact, yeah, if you go to the front page, after you go through my link, if you go over to the front page, you'll see you can get up to $400 off player PCs and up to $150 off DIY bundles. And I believe always try that code Travis5 stacks with that because it has in their past sales, and sometimes there's some sort of issue and we have to fix it. But yeah, try code Travis5 with any of that stuff. It should be good. But yeah, thank you so much to N6T for sponsoring the show, and congratulations to them on their summer sale. They've got some really cool opportunities over there. And again, I know I already say this, but a lot of people, they like to build their own PCs. One of the things I love about having NZXT as a partner is, yes, you can go over there, you can buy an amazing pre-built gaming PC if you're like, I just don't want to go through the hassle, or maybe you're not comfortable building your own PC, etc. But for those that are PC builders, you can buy PC components like cases, CPU, coolers, case fans, power supplies, all sorts of really cool stuff. And they have gaming gear as well if you're just looking for, new keyboard, mouse, that type of thing. So thank you so much to NZXT for sponsoring the show. They've been a fantastic partner, and we love to have them with us as a partner on the show.
yeah. I actually was talking to someone at the wedding that I was able to pitch NZXT and the code to. I was like,
Oh, really?
he's like, well, I don't need a full computer. I was like, they'll do parts too. So
Yes, yeah.
they're hopefully looking into it.
I see Basil in the chat. Basil is, I believe, in Vancouver. I did not see her yet, but it's been reported that she is in Vancouver supporting FlyQuest. So hopefully I will see her Wednesday whenever she
I
goes
there,
to the
there was
show.
a cat meetup between Basil and Kitty.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
It would have been your least favorite event on the
yeah,
planet,
it's
Travis.
something I'm
Yeah.
fine to have missed. All
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Let's see.
I got nothing
Have
from Jamada yet. We can take
Okay.
one more take though. That's actually
Yeah.
we can get one more before.
Thank you, Bowen, for the 500 bits. Yeah, maybe we'll go a little bit over time if just so that we got some good stuff in with Jamada. But yeah. Basil, hopefully we run into you. I don't know what you're up to, but happy and down to get food at some point in time with you and your crew. I know we always talk about getting coffee, or it's like, Travis, can we please get coffee in LA? Can we please get coffee in LA? And I'm always like, I'm so busy, but I actually have some time here. So, yeah, hopefully we'll be able to pull that off. All right, Damastalex. How do you like to pronounce that?
Yep, Damastalex or Alex, whatever, or Dama or whatever.
Alex, where are you calling from?
Calling from Toronto, Canada, but originally from New Jersey.
Okay, well, we're just gonna say you're Canadian for the sake of this call and for the fact that it's
That's
Canada Day
fine.
tomorrow. Another Canadian calling in. Wow, Canada's popping off. What do you want to talk about on the show?
My take is that C9 is going to come out of MSI a much better team than any of the Western teams. because they're scrimming high quality teams the whole time. And they won't have to face the potential mental boom that comes from losing to any of the Eastern teams on stage badly. Also, we've heard multiple rumors about, Eastern teams and European teams seeming to really enjoy scrimming C9 because they think it's high quality scrims. And have heard from some of the C9 players on their streams themselves that they're learning a lot and they've had really good scrims.
That's such an interesting take. Yeah, I really like this. They've just been streaming and they've been saying this. I've missed this stuff.
Yeah, so Sven went on to Cagel's chat and after a little trolling said that they 3-1 G2. Also they Thanatos and Blabber have been on stream saying that they've had really good scrims. Blabber said he's learned a lot. It's just seemed to be pretty positive vibes all around.
Yeah. Cubby, how much value do you think the teams, like a team like C9, can get out of these scrims versus like FlyQuest actually being on stage playing against these teams and getting the scrims?
I mean, scrim versus stage game is always going to be different. Obviously, C9 is preparing for their own event coming up with EWC, and I can see like where it might help them more for that event, given that some of the media days and travel days are null. Whereas, FlyQuest, they're going to have to go in and do media. Like, they have to travel to Vancouver, right? So C9 can actually pick up a few days and scrim from here. I mean, I think this is a decent take. I will say that, like, sometimes without playing stage games, and I haven't had experience coaching at this level or coaching in general for a long time, but sometimes it's just good to play stage games because that extra pressure on the team can sometimes just force you to come up with better solutions. Whereas scrims, it's easy to get lost in the sauce, or sometimes you can get false data because scrims are played so much faster. Like one of the picks that I had a lot of beef against this past split was Pantheon. Pantheon is for sure a scrim god pick. Like you get a global early, you're Thanos at level 4, and he was rolling scrims. And as every patch went on with the major 4 regions, Pantheon was losing in win rate. I felt like teams weren't picking him at the right time, and I think a lot of that was, I mean, scrims are played 2 to 3 times as fast for folks like behind the scenes. I mean, you get 2 kill a minute games like a ton. You have to kind of train your team to not play like that if you're having stage issues. So anyway, I can see where saving the days of not having to compete in the tournament is good, but I don't think that C9 being competitive against AL in a scrim versus FlyQuest being competitive against AL or T1 or Gen G on stage is the same. Like I think that builds more confidence for EWC for FlyQuest, but this is interesting because that for sure is a little bit of a unique angle for a tournament that's coming up where 10 out of the 12 teams are competing at MSI, right? Or close to that. So might be a unique advantage for C9. That's going to be something that's curious to look out for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting talking to some of the teams who, or some of the players that I've talked to who just seem to have really good things to say about C9. I don't need to say for the 500th time that they should have been here, but I do really like the idea that this is going to be like huge for them. And the nice thing is they get to do it from the comfort of their own home.
That's
Like
big.
that is
Food,
really big.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Sickness, yep.
a lot of the other teams are not scrimming. Like we've heard at the very least that Fly C9 and I mean obviously Fly, but Fly C9 and TL are like the North American teams that are being able to get scrims or that people are scrimming. So it doesn't sound like some of these other teams are getting scrims, which just feels like it's going to like further the gap for these 3 teams in North America. And yeah, I don't know. Hang on. Let me ask you this, Alex. Why don't you think TL is in this? Alex?
My original take did have TL to a lesser extent. I think I took them out because they're getting quality scrims, but they're just not fun. In my opinion, they're not as fundamentally sound of a team as C9 is.
Yeah.
And so that's why I took them out. But I do think TL do improve after scrimming all the MSI teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think depending on their new lineup and all that stuff, there's a world where they benefit the most from this actually because they're able to scrim, like they can make the biggest leaps and bounds, right? Because they're kind of going to be catching up for last time with a adjusted roster. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. But I do think calling out TL at the very least is important. I just saw Fiflaren from Disguised in the chat who says our mid gets in this week starting scrims ASAP when he lands. Fifth, how confident are you that you're going to be able to scrim the MSI teams? I don't know if you have any that are lined up, but I mean, I guess like I don't know. There's only a few MSI teams left, quite frankly. I mean, they still have the majority of them, but like the MSI is not a very big event, so and I no disrespect to this guys, but I feel like they're not going to be able to get like T1 scrims or whatever. So I'm wondering how available some of these other teams will be to scrim. But I hope this guys can get that. That would be cool. I guess I shouldn't say for sure that we're not going to get other teams getting scrims. I haven't heard anybody mention 100 Thieves. I haven't heard anybody mention like Dignitas or anything like that Shopify. So we will we will see. But no, I like this take a lot. Uh, Alex, any other thoughts on any of this that we haven't mentioned or brought up?
I think the only thing on the TL front is that we've seen a not to continue to not to continue to talk negatively about APA, but I think APA being just in general ceiling limited has also made me shy away from the amount TL could potentially improve from scrims. Maybe I'm grasping at straws, but that's the only thing I'd also add about the TL. Uh, why I didn't include TL in this?
Yeah.
They also don't have something to play for that's like as close, which I think is fair, right? Because C9's actually playing a tournament coming up here, whereas TL is just prepping for next split. Something else that Faflaren mentioned worth noting is that the LTA South, they sent, I believe, their top 4 teams here to have like a scrim boot camp that was part of the merger. So those are bonus teams to scrim, obviously not MSI
Oh
teams, but
yeah, I forgot
I'm
about that.
curious if, especially with the international tournament being here, I'd actually see that being a little bit of a help for them and those teams if they're actually able to get a couple of MSI scrims, right? They're able to play GAM or G2 or MCOY or, yeah, some of the teams that aren't expected to do as well in the tournament. I'm sure that it's LTA South teams are not best practice, but Furia did surprise a lot of fans, and it is nice to. It definitely is an extra buff that those teams get the international teams to hopefully play against as well. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see how things go. Thank you so much for the call, Alex. Anything you want to shout out?
Wanted to shout out the Cloud9 Discord, where I spend most of my time if I'm online, and we have some really, really wonderful members of that community. And we get a lot of wonderful guests, including C9 staff. So shout out
Oh, that's
C9.
cool. But do they have? Is theirs like discord.gg/cloud9, or do they have like the special URL or anything, or is it just?
I believe it's discord.gg/cloud.
Okay, cool.
That is correct.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm sure people can go check things out there. It's been really fun to have my Discord, especially during these international events, and just seeing people chat and hang out in there. So, totally get the value of that stuff. But yeah, thank you so much, Alex, for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Cubby, we're gonna stall because Jamada said 5 minutes. And I don't want to take the next call without him. So
That's fine. We can definitely stall. I
yeah.
got him to set up, and hopefully he'll be in soon. So.
Yeah. What matchup are you looking forward to most this week?
FlyQuest AL.
Yeah, I mean that
For
makes
sure.
sense, I guess.
But I will say that I'm actually curious. I wonder if you want to do a poll or just like ask the chat, what matchup do you guys think has the biggest potential for an upset coming in? Because I'm curious about CFO versus MCOY too.
Yeah, I'm down to do a poll for that. Or actually, Numi can
Yeah.
do the poll. She's hopefully here. Okay, are you most excited for the Fly AL match because of Fly in North America, or do you think that that one has the potential to be the most interesting?
Kind of both, honestly. Again, the caller that we had earlier, I think AL is like I would rank AL as depending on how like what T1 shows up, because I just have to respect that. How many international events has T1 showed up to where it's like, yeah, they're not the best team this year, and like after just a couple series, it's like, oh Jesus, it's T1, right?
Yeah.
But I think that minimum AL should be a top 3 team in anyone's ranking. Like if someone puts T1, just think they're gonna show up. That's fine.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like FlyQuest are a similar team going into AL with how they want to play the game. And I can see similar archetypes with their build and the players they have. I just think it's going to take big step ups from Lucio, Whipple, and Quad. I have a lot of respect for Shanks. I think Shanks is going to make a big splash for a lot of fans at this event because I think it's his first international appearance. And he was a really, really good mid that we had in the league. So I'm hoping that Quad can at least show up and match him or neutralize him or beat him. And then against Spire versus Tarzan, that's a great matchup. Like I mean, I don't care like what people say about like where Tarzan's played versus where Inspired's played. I mean, those two guys are fantastic players throughout the years, and the fact that Tarzan got his first and Inspired, it continues to solidify himself as one of the best players we've had in the region in the last like 3-4 years. I think that should be a really exciting one too.
Yeah, the Koi BLG match, I am really interested to see how that goes. Because I don't know.
Oh, thank you. That's the one. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. I'm wondering. I'm just so excited to see JoJo. I'm gonna be honest. He walked at the press room the other day,
Too fun.
and it was really really neat to see him. I just like waved at him, and he waved at me. He's like, "Yo, what's up?" And
He's too
so
fun, man.
and like in Canada and stuff, it's gonna be really fun. So I'm hopeful that they're good. It looks like we have Jamada here. Let's see if we can pull him into the. Do you see him? Oh, he's in the call. Hello, Jamada.
I'm in the call. Hello.
Hello,
Hi.
hello. The caller's inside the house.
The caller is inside the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot fresh off my own podcast.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you for allowing me to drop in late.
Well, thank you for
Hello.
dropping in. Here's the thing. I've wanted to have you on the show during MSI in particular, but it was funny because I I didn't anticipate that unfortunately we would have overlap. So then, whenever you weren't available, I was like, oh, maybe Chronicler because he's here, but all the casters are off doing some sort of caster activity where they all, I don't know, maybe they like all cast together or something.
Hiking and dinner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to
Hiking
say
and
what
dinner,
it was,
yeah.
but I guess if they're
I mean, they
doxing
posted
themselves.
about it, so
Okay.
yeah,
I
no,
didn't see it.
yeah.
So then they were unavailable, and so I was like, well, I really, really want to make sure we have an international guest or international perspective at least on the show. So I appreciate you coming on. I'm setting up the overlay right now. Cubby, if you want to catch Jamada up on what we've talked about and see if he wants to weigh in on anything.
Yeah, I've heard there were some crazy takes, Covey, going on whilst I was, I was muted. I could see some of the pinned messages.
So someone said that AL was fraudulent, and while I had to defend that, I still think that series could be close. Which I know I pinged you like where I kind of think it is.
Yeah. No, man. Like, don't get me wrong. Is it the highest chance for an upset to happen in the first 4 series?
It might be.
Maybe.
That's what we're talking about going into this.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like, look, I'm not a gambling man personally, but like, I'll maybe look at CFO T1 before I look at AL.
Well,
really?
On the fly.
Yeah,
I would absolutely look. I think people are putting way too much stock in those final 2 series from T1. Way too much stock in those 2 final series.
They always show up though. Like that's the thing, you know.
Look, I don't give a monkeys.
It is
that's a good point.
It is story time, you know.
Look, peace and love, greatest organization of all time. They did not look like the second best team in the LCK.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination. If anything, they looked like the 4th best team in the LCK. KT had, outside of game 1, the lowest floor performance that we had seen out of them in close to 2 months. And they had been fantastic up until that point. And then they went on to beat a very deflated and extraordinarily defeated HLE, who, at least to me, not only seemed very much but came in with some of the strangest prep I think I've seen HLE come into a series with all year. Like they were playing around Doran's champion pool. Like this guy was all of a sudden like it was like the top lane matchup was reversed. Like it was Zeus on the other side, and they had Doran still. It was very, very, very bizarre.
Well, It was domestic, so Dorna has to take the sun out back domestically, but then internationally, it's how
So
it is.
yeah,
It changes.
um,
I wonder if
I
they blindfolded Doran on his way to Canada. It's like,
they did-
yes, we are still in
yeah,
the T1 HQ.
Hey, so we're actually flying from Seoul to Busan. If you're wondering why
Yes,
the
yes.
flight is 14 hours long, don't worry about it. Like we're just, sightseeing a couple of places from the plane window, and then we're landing in Busan. Oh, the signs are in
Absolutely.
English. Don't worry about that, Doran. That's just the. It's all good. It's just the signs will be in Korean very soon. Yeah, I think AL Fly. The only reason why it's fun is because they're both, or like people are kind of underrating it. I think is a lot of people are not very familiar with a lot of the nameplates on AL for one. I think that's going to be a major driving factor.
Yeah, Shanks is damn
Um,
good. Yeah.
yeah, like Shanks is really good. Kyle is really good.
Yep.
Everyone should be very familiar with Tarzan and Flandre, and then if you're maybe a super new like League of Legends viewer, if you don't know Hope, I think that's relatively forgivable. But Hope has done the dance very deep into international before, albeit it was a weird tournament that year, and the expectations were a lot
Yeah,
higher than where they finished.
I'm still not like the biggest Hope believer, but I think Kyle was the best sport we had in that region. He's going to be really good this
Mhm.
tournament, hopefully. Shanks, I think it's his first international appearance. I think he's going to surprise a lot of fans who aren't familiar with him. He's good.
Yeah.
So, and then Tarzan versus Inspired is a great matchup. I mean,
Oh, that's going to be so fun.
Yeah,
So
it's
fun.
gonna be super
If they're
fun.
allowed to get into their champion pool bag, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Well, let's get into some calls. So now that
All
we have
right,
Jamada here.
I've been saving one for you, Jamada, because it may or may not have involved EU. So here we go. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Off goes Cubby to grab them. Thank you so much. Sorry for the audio jump scare earlier, by the way, guys. I'm limited to a small screen. Well, not a small screen, but I don't have my 3 monitor setup I normally have it, so I clicked over to Twitter to close it and accidentally clicked of it, my channel trailer, which was pinned there. So that was what you heard. Thank you to Gurnt for another 10 gifted subs, which is crazy. Thank you, Gurnt. Goat Cheese, please, with the resub. Dark Turkanis gifted a sub. Big Angry Hobo gifted a sub. And then Haru, thank you for the prime. And on YouTube, we have nothing so far other than our previous announcements, but thank you, folks, for the support. Yami is here. Yami, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from DC. I'm a little bit surprised you didn't ask how to pronounce my name since we're doing that tonight, and you frequently get it wrong, but that's okay.
Isn't it? Oh, wait, I get your name wrong? Isn't it Yami?
It's Yami. It's Yami.
Yummy.
The Chicago A pays off there, Travis.
Anyway, no. So I'm calling in a little bit frightened because I didn't anticipate Jamada being on the call when I was calling in to shit on the EU. I'm calling in so my kind of balanced take is that North America should have another seed. It's a little bit ridiculous. We're not like one combined unit like the LCP is, where they're actually playing all year, and it makes sense for them to have like a combined seeding to MSI. Also, it just feels bad. My inflammatory take is that we should get EU's second seed, because we have been consistently trouncing them in internationals for the past 3 years in terms of results. Don't look at the fact that it's only like 2 matches out of those 3 years. We have they've struggled against people, the Brazilian team, who we pretty much trounced them. They've lost 2 times as many games versus Brazil as we lost, despite sharing a region with Brazil. Again, we've only played Brazil in that one tournament, but we're just going to ignore that.
Yeah.
Although we did have more opportunities to lose because we did play substantially more games versus them. I'm trying to remember the rest of my take.
I mean, I
What was
think
the rest of it?
you could come back to it later.
Oh no, I was gonna say the sort of like more level-headed thing is like, I think it's hard to make a compelling argument that any region should lose a seed. If I was being completely honest, I think I would probably
no, it
not.
is.
Pardon?
It is. It's easy to make a compelling take right now. I you've come in. You said you're scared. I agree with you. Sorry to cut you off. I think that in a world where we aren't just making MSI a 12-team tournament like it probably should be,
Yeah.
with the way that results have gone as of late, and like, don't get me wrong, if you watch League of Legends and you like are actually analytically inclined, it would be harsh, But right now, EU are in a position where if we're sticking to 10 teams, the second seed from EU should probably be playing the second seed from NA. I don't think it's ridiculous. I really don't think it's ridiculous anymore. I think if this year a team doesn't make top 8 from EU, that is probably the way that it has to go. It's just the facts of the situation. You're not wrong. you're very, very far from wrong, man. We've sucked. We've sucked for a little while.
But you're
And
talking
even
about
though
having
I
them
think there's
play for the spot, right?
Yeah.
yeah. Now I don't think we should just lose the spot, but I
Agreed.
think that because the way that I see LEC and LTA right now is like this. LTA's 2 top teams are better than the LEC's 2 top teams, but our top 3 to 4 teams are way stronger than LTA's top 3-4 teams. So when it comes to like world seeding, I think we should still be getting lion's share of seeds. But as of right now, for MSI, like it's really hard to argue if we're staying at 10 that we should just de facto be getting that second seed for free.
I mean, I could push back and say that TL had a down split.
Sure.
So like I think top 3, if you throw them in there with K Corp, I'd still give it to LTA overall.
Mhm.
And then if you get further down, I mean, look, this comes down to the fact that EU is a 10-team region where 10 franchises exist. LTA is now an 8-team region with promotion and relegation where franchising only exists for 5 members. That's why the seeds are how they are, even if what we see in the gameplay, that's not what it is. And that stinks.
Well, and
So
we're ignoring the fact that the EU first seed had to use North American talent to even get to this tournament.
True.
You know,
Okay, now let's Travis. We've done this before, and this is
it's
one
our
I'll still
turn.
stand
It's
on.
our turn. We get to do
Look,
it. You know.
I don't care about the point you're making about it, bro. Jojo was not actually. We need to. We watch the games? I like. I'm
I mean,
sorry.
if
There
fans
is
watch
more tape.
playoffs,
There
Jamada,
is more tape of Jojo pissing himself than there is Jojo clutching up. Like it's a mountain versus like a. Now, don't get me wrong.
it
Jojo's
mattered
clutch
more.
ups
Yep.
very, very important. Very, very important. And if you deny that, you are simply delusional. But bro, Jojo has not been playing well more than he has been playing poorly. And I think the unfortunate and very frustrating thing is the average fan will remember the charm on caps off the Talia wall, or they'll remember the fucking the what do you call it, the scoop in the mid lane onto Hans in game state that was completely fucking shagged. Over him getting like soloed 3 times in like or soloed like twice in Rise Galio matchup, or like getting one shot on bot lane when he's playing Yone into Annie. Like people will remember the hype moments more than the bad moments. And I'm telling you right now, the bad moments they pile up heavy, but you see those good moments from Jojo? Cool, they've got a title, and that's all that people really think about and care about.
Well, I successfully rage baited Jamada, so
It's not a
that's it.
rage bait. No, it's not a rage bait. But I think that we like as a community with the JoJo narrative, I know it's fun, I know it's exciting, but we need to just be reasonable about JoJo for a second.
He
Because I think it like, for example, he's probably gonna get his pants pulled down versus Knight, and I don't think it's gonna be fun to watch. I don't think it's gonna be fun to watch at all. I'm sorry if you're expecting a close matchup, but I think that's what's gonna happen in that 1v1. I don't think it's gonna be good.
I mean, I think Knight's probably the second best mid here next to Chovy, and that's not that hot of a take. But
No, no.
you were correct in saying that JoJo, his playoff tape versus regular season tape was much better when it counted. But I've
Yeah.
also seen so much JoJo where that guy's a filthy enter because he is just there to make plays, and you take the good with the bad with JoJo, and we hope for the best, you know, because he can make plays. I feel like very few players can make. So I've always been a fan of him for that and the upside, which I still think exists. We'll see if it exists in the night. I hope that BOG gets exposed a bit more. Because I know that you watched Beishuan and An play for an entire season, and they looked much
You know-
better against the bad teams, but they're not
Yeah.
a great jungle support
I-
duo. Those guys are going to get gapped some point at this tournament.
Yeah, I don't want to stray too far away from Calder's
yeah.
points here.
Yeah.
But just a small shout out to Beichuan because I had him as the worst jungler coming into the tournament. From the air quotes 4 major regions.
Yeah.
That guy had a stellar play.
He put good. He put good. I think they gave him all of his champs. I did not agree with the prep the teams had in the BLG at all, which is a different conversation.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
All right, let's get back on track.
Yes.
Which was the NA should have EU's slot. You don't agree that we should take your spot. You think there should be some sort of battle.
Down to play for it.
Yeah, like I know the World's Championship qualifying series. Was that what it was called? World Championship qualifying series. I think that's what it was called.
Well, even this
That
year,
was what it was
it's
called,
LPL
yeah.
versus LCK. So that will assist the
Yeah.
Worlds this year.
Yeah, so frankly, I think that's probably what needs to happen next year. Also, if I'm just being honest, could you imagine the timeline where they just take it?
Well, that's
Like,
what I
could
was
you
going to say.
imagine
Is
what that
because
looks
Riot
like on
might not be
social media?
down
Like,
for this,
yeah,
Given what the leagues look like, you can't do that to the 10 franchise teams versus the 5 franchise teams with promo relegation. There's just no way it happens.
You can't. So I think playing for it is probably the best middle ground you're gonna get. Unless again, I know people don't like talking about EWC, but like EWC is a 12 tournament team. Why the fuck is MSI not a 12 tournament
I
team?
mean, I did
Like,
a video that was all about that, Jamada. It's like actually fucking
Oh,
crazy to me. So
yeah, so like, if that tournament's going to be a 12 tournament team, why the hell are we not just running? Even if it's 2 extra teams in play-ins, and play-ins is like 2 days longer or something, or however much you need to make that bracket a thing. Why is that not just happening from day one, or a bigger bracket in the main stage? One of those 2 things. Doesn't matter. I'm not the decision maker. They need to figure it out. But I think 10 teams to MSI, just because they kind of want to keep the kind of new, hey, America's APAC, Europe, Korea thing, and China. All of them get 2. It's silly. It's really silly because you're splitting, specifically the North Americans. But like, bro, also LTA South is getting completely boned here too. Like, they get way less representation on average now internationally because of it. So I think it just benefits.
So
It benefits everyone.
whenever you talk about the stuff on Reddit, people go, people don't realize that it has nothing to do with competition and everything to do with viewership, and that's why North America lost their spot. Blah blah blah. So like, what do you say to that kind of thing? Is there a world where even if North America is the better region, that they should not have an additional spot or fight for the spot or whatever because more people watch in Europe?
Nah, that's bollocks. I know we love to do, especially like when the Fearless thing came in, and we was like, yeah, esports is an entertainment product first, so we got to value viewership. Cool, but like when we're doing seeding and we're trying to be competitive and we're trying to uphold integrity, these things matter a little bit more than the first portion of our tournament is gonna have 30K less or like 20K less views on it. Like, bro, it's gonna be streamed, it's gonna be co-streamed, the numbers are still gonna be there. And like, you also just have more opportunity for fun fucking storylines to happen and more like spoken about things to occur.
Well, my
throughout
argument
history.
would be like, do you want that viewership to stay low or do you want it to grow again? Because like, if you want it to grow, then you should include more opportunities for North America to show what they can do at international events if they start to appear competitive with like EU, for instance.
Absolutely.
You got a 3rd Korean team first. I mean, there's that
Yeah,
too.
of course. But like, at the end of the day, I mean, are China and Korea still gonna play? Yeah, right. Are we likely gonna get an NA versus EU? Yeah, those are the main viewership draws. Like, I don't think that they care. Maybe a brazen take here, but I don't think they care as much as I would hope they do about something like, we have 2 extra days of a tournament. These 2 teams get, a little bit of extra fucking playtime in play-ins.
Yeah.
That said, like we've seen things like the financial cuts, everything like that. It could also be factors like that, right? Where it's like, well, hey, like we don't want to expense an extra 2 whole days of production because that like it's expensive. People outside of the industry won't know. Like running broadcasts is a hefty fee.
There's so many
Um,
people behind the scenes that make a show work. Like people have
so many
no
people.
idea. Yeah, no
You
idea.
do not know.
Yeah.
You don't know until you're there and you're in front of the camera and you see the 20 people in the room, or the 15 people in the room, doing everything that makes you look pretty on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jamada,
So yeah,
and I guess Cubby, let's get it down to the initial take, which is like, let's say there's no chance to fight for it. Let's say North America does better at this event than Europe. Maybe like G2 goes out and then, FlyQuest triumphantly beats Koi to stay alive in the tournament. And Riot says, hey, we're not going to spend any more money. We just want to run forward 10 teams again. Is there a world where NA should get 2 spots and EU should only get 1?
I don't think so. Just given again the league structure, I don't care about results. I think you have to go based on league structure or go based on previous tournaments. So you were just on the podcast with Tom. He said,
Yep.
I think whoever won the last international event should always be at the next one. Fuck yeah. I'm so down for that, by the way. I think that's
Yep.
that's a great idea for just storylines in general, right? Um I'm with Jamada in having the regional like NA versus EU and LCK versus LPL play for seeds to get into these events. You guarantee a hype matchup. I think cost and like wear and tear on the team is significant, but especially for Worlds, like I would be down with that because that is the end of your season. But it's really tough to go to like these venues and travel and like practice there. Like it's a big expense if you lose that series for teams, and I think that's why it's really easy to do the LCK versus LPL. We don't see that for NA versus EU this year.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for your call. I don't know if you have anything else you want to weigh in on, Yami.
Yes. Thank you for getting that correct. No,
you said that
I
like you
would
had a
say,
lump in your throat, man. Sorry, go.
I would say no. I do basically kind of agree. Like in a perfect world, there would just be 12 teams. In a slightly less perfect world, we would just bring back like the qualifying series because I think that's always going to be. I mean, like the one that we got was the worst possible outcome, where it was just a pretty clean 3-0 because Golden Guardians imploded. But like, I think that that's always going to be more exciting than just one region doesn't get an extra seed because of like kind of political in the sense of like the politics of organizing an event or whatever reasons, as opposed to like it's a game, they're deciding they're based on their performance. Like that's always going to be more exciting. I think we're in the worst timeline where we just, like Cubby's saying, there's kind of external reasons that are not gameplay based that are shaping the decisions that we're seeing, and I think that's kind of like the worst feeling outcome. And also, yeah, like for LTA South, I think especially after the showing that we had, it would be cool if they also somehow there was an opportunity for them to have another seed because it looks like they're actually performing pretty well. But you know, MSI is
Hey,
they
at Worlds, there is a seed guaranteed for the North and South, and then the third one is up to the two regions to figure out who places best at that tournament. So you get your wish.
am I a
We'll have
little
to go
bit
see.
nervous now about how Shopify or TL might look versus versus LTA South a little bit, yes. But we're gonna
Shout out,
worry about
shout
that
out to
at
ThinkCard,
Worlds.
Io, and Tatu. He's done a nice job over there with some of the guys, and it's a good little young team. So it's kind of fun.
Anything
Yeah,
you want to
no, I
shout out
enjoyed
here?
watching through. I just want to shout out my constant duo partner, Happy Blue Guy. Other than that, no. Thanks for running the show.
Yeah. Thanks
Thank you.
for calling in. We'll catch you next time.
I
All
can
right.
get another caller after this. I was, yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't know how fast to go with a couple, but we got
No,
one
it's
more.
fine. And I think we can
We'll get
go a
another
little bit
after this.
over if Jamada's into it, because I'd love to
Yeah,
have
it
him
sounds
on the
fun.
show for a little bit extra. Oh, he's muted, so I guess maybe he's not going to be.
I'm staying up till like 6 a.m. my time, so I'm still good for like another hour and a half, almost 2.
Because you're wanting to make sure you can catch the games tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll use that and not the fact that I'm basically a de facto American at this point, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The accent really gives it away. Oh wait, there's a
Hey, listen,
there's
don't
a
test me. I've got a good accent.
there's
Sorry,
a
go on.
there's a. By the way, I don't want to dox myself too much, but I am not too far from a
Mhm.
Nando's.
Oh,
Isn't that interesting?
did you not? Did you? You must have. You went to a Nando's when you were here,
Yeah,
right?
yes. But I
Oh
have not
yeah.
been there for a while. Actually, I don't think I
Mhm.
went for Worlds last year, but
It
I
would
mean
have
I've
been
gone
MSI,
before.
right?
Yeah. During
Yeah.
MSI I went, and I've gone before then too, and it's pretty good. I like
Oh,
it,
okay.
but I haven't tried the Canadian one, so we'll have
It's
to see.
it's all right. I'll always say I think Nando's gets a little bit more hype. I'm gonna speak very plain here. A lot of white people don't season their chicken, and if you're not ethnic, you don't really get the full
Yo, have you ever had a nice
cadence of.
lemon pepper though, Jamada?
I have, and lemon pepper chicken's good.
It is,
Like I
yeah,
don't mind it. It's lovely.
yeah.
But if you're trying to stack that up against korma, against jerk, against curry, against all of these different flavors
I don't
of,
know what any of those are. You know.
and that
I'm just
I
kidding.
love you, man.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Abel
Uh,
is here. Abel, where are you calling from?
Hello, I'm calling from Hollister, California.
Hollister, California. I feel like I drove through there. When would I have driven through there? Is that like Central Valley?
The funny thing is, you would never drive through here because it's out of the way of everything.
Hollister,
Like, you have to go out of
California.
your way to actually get there.
I'm gonna look this up right now because I feel like maybe even because I just did a road trip. Uh, wait, wouldn't I have driven through it if I was going through up to like Santa Ana or Santa Cruz or something or San Jose?
Drive by it,
I drove by it.
but
Okay, yes.
you really don't need to go through it.
All right, whatever. Anyway, what do you want to talk about the show?
I wanted to talk about how the tournament is really fast-paced with the turnarounds on games. And it makes it like, as a viewer, I'm not super aware of the storylines of the different teams in the tournament. I was thinking back to Worlds a couple of years back when they would have segments on all the teams in the play-in section. So not just in the main tournament, when you get to like get an overview of each of the players of the teams, and then you kind of get a little story behind what they were up against. To like be able to root for teams that you weren't familiar with. So I'm kind of like, I watch some of the other regions, and I watch this show and some other ones. So like I'm kind of up to date, but I'm still like reaching for like, what are these teams about? And I'm just listening on broadcast and like having Captain Flowers and Azael be like, oh, this jungler's been doing this season, but like it's during the game and not like before I get into it.
So are you
So it'd be
saying the
cool if there's,
broadcast days themselves are too short?
well, like from series 1 to series 2, there's like 12 minutes, and it's like
right.
half of it's ads, and there's no backstory on the teams that are playing next.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it's a
May I?
10-team tournament taking place over 3 weeks. Like I feel like this is
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
slow tournament, but I see what you're saying. You're saying like the broadcast itself just goes really quickly and like tries to do very little downtime.
Yeah, like if I didn't know about the teams before the series started, I'm kind of learning as I go.
Yeah. Jamada, you
May
want to
I?
chime in? Yeah.
Yeah. So last year there was a very actually how much I can probably talk about a lot of this. Last year there was a very big thing on Riot's end, and I'm pretty sure they spoke about it. The turnaround time between
This was like a Mark
games,
C
right?
initiative.
Yep.
Yeah, and it spread over into Europe too
Yeah,
because
he's like a
we were talking
virus.
about it. Yeah, we were talking about it at the start of 2024 on the LEC, and then it definitely started to get implemented at the very least in spring, not so much
Yeah,
winter,
you guys
but they
didn't like the
started to
drafts, and NA did. That was kind of, I remember that. That was kind of interesting because the drafts were
yeah,
before. Yeah.
that was kind of a lot of the difference between
Yeah.
how things ended up landing. Um, so there has been a very big thing of trying to get the now obviously you highlighted the series to series, right? Not so much the game to game per se.
Yeah. I like the
Um,
game-to-game turnaround being quick
mhm,
because
yeah,
like then you get back into gameplay, but before something
sure.
starts, like getting some backstory is nice.
Have you seen what the
Yeah,
schedule
so
becomes now?
no,
It's
it's
still
not.
best of 5 days.
It's 2 best of 5 days, yeah.
Yes.
So
Well, tomorrow it's not even like the next 2 days.
it's
It's
just
not
one.
even two. It's just one. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's double on the third though.
yeah,
Uh-huh,
because it's
yeah.
yeah.
So there's been a very big drive to basically cut down analyst desk time between games. Now, I think if you are analytically aware and inclined, I'm talking about the logistics and the numbers here, do a little bit of basic maths. Whenever games stop being played, people
Yes.
tune out broadcasts. So when people tune out broadcasts, over the span of a period of time on the analytics of a broadcast, what that does is that lowers the average viewer count,
Yeah.
which means you effectively have an air quotes lower like concurrent viewer average. So that's a harder sell to sponsors, mostly sponsors. So you reduce the turnaround time, you have less downtime, the average viewer count is higher because there's less amounts of time where viewers are fucked off, waiting for the next game to start. As for the series, I think series to series thing, I haven't really watched the broadcasts live, so I can't necessarily comment on how it's been handled. What I can tell you is that the talent will always push to try and get storylines out, and with appropriate amounts of research and depth. And if the series turnaround is as short as you're saying, like it's like 10 to 12 minutes, as if it was like game to game, that is likely a decision that wasn't necessarily
Well, the
broadcast.
other thing is that when you're doing two best of fives to back to back, you have the
You
potential
have to
for like
run
a
fury.
10-hour long
Yeah.
day. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone starts to
And
get fatigued at that point in time. Viewers get
yeah.
fatigued, the players, etc.
So it's everyone. So I think that will be one thing. The other thing as well is I think it's difficult to, because when you have two series, especially best of fives on a singular day, what you realistically need is like a second pre-show in the middle of the show, which could already be 5 hours,
Yeah, it's hard.
deep.
Yeah.
It's hard. So again, I can't speak to the content that's been present on the broadcast. But I also think having things like, I mean, there's no official English coverage of the LTA South that's like right back, right? You've got the
Right.
like unofficial one. And then obviously the VCS is the VCS. There's no English coverage there. I don't think there has been for a very, very long time.
There's an
So then,
LCP English broadcast.
right. Okay. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
No, God, you're so right. I forget because it's just at such a weird
It's a
time zone where
terrible
it
time
clashes with the
zone.
LC. Yeah, yeah.
And
It
LPL.
clashes
Yeah.
with every, and then so it's honestly hard to remember that broadcast exists, but it does exist. So point being, the other fact of the matter is when you don't have talent from these places who have spent the entire year watching these teams play, it's gonna feel, no matter what, it's always gonna feel a little bit half-hearted, even if, and the talent that are present always do it, present the stories of all of the heart and all of the passion and try to emulate what those domestic casters do on a week to week, much like they do for their own regions, right? So yeah, it's a really tough situation, really. And there's not much a band-aid other than giving those people opportunities on these broadcasts internationally, which doesn't really happen. So yeah, I don't necessarily think it's even a turnaround issue. I think it's a much broader issue, which I don't want to talk about.
Well,
I
okay, you could still
I
like those if you have those experts, they can still come in through casting experiences and all that stuff. So I don't think
Mhm.
that like the lack of narratives and like the quick speed of the broadcast is due to we don't have people who can speak to these teams because we've eliminated the broadcast in dramatic ways or we're not inviting those people. I think it truly just
Mm.
does come down to like not even just like trying to keep average viewer time up, but also just like you want your audience to stay engaged, and whenever you
Yeah.
start to see things start to drop, like, oh wow, we noticed that like we lose viewers anytime we're sitting at the analyst desk for maybe like more than 10 minutes. Well, maybe we shouldn't sit at the analyst desk for more than 10 minutes. Okay, well now
Yep.
you've gotten rid of that whole segment. Like that makes sense to me, and I think the fact that like, hey, we might have this broadcast going for 10 hours, which means people behind the scenes are working like a 12 or 13-hour day. It makes sense to me that why you'd be like, okay, we're going to get quickly into this next match because maybe the last one went 4 or 5 games. So I I I feel like there's only so much they can do at this point in time for like a
Yeah.
huge broadcast day like this, and I do think that it's kind of on the players to go or the viewers to go find supplemental content like the dive or whatever. So it's just I don't blame them too much for not spending like, a 20-minute like conversation in between one match and the other. Meanwhile, everybody in the audience is like, at the live event are getting like fatigued and thinking about going home or taking the Sky Train in Vancouver or something because they're just like, oh
Oh,
my God, we've been sitting in these
you
uncomfortable
get a
chairs for
10-hour
5
day.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think the only thing I'll add to this that I feel like was missed is that a lot of the praise we've given to the LTA North broadcast, the Split Travis, has been about like their use of in-game lower thirds and how they've really leveled up
Yeah.
and upgraded there. When the game is not going on, that is when production is at their busiest. It's like there are a lot of people that do great work during the game, obviously, like observers and everything, but the amount of people that have to prep an analyst desk, choose what you're going to talk about on the fly, and do all that, that is a lot heavier of a lift than like the game is
Much
on the
heavier.
screen, right? And it's because you don't have to like there are fans in here that are like nothing makes me leave the stream faster than the game's not being played, right? Well, yeah, Riot understood that, and they're now dedicating a lot more of their production time and value into when the
I-
game is actually
if
being played.
I'll tell you right now, I think if Riot could effectively remove the AD, I think they'd do it. Like,
I mean,
I think
we might come to that world soon,
for
Jamada.
for viewership, I think if they could do it, they would.
They need it
Yeah.
for ads. Yeah.
I will also
I mean, the only
say
thing is they need it for ads, but like, if it wasn't for ads, I think they'd be pushing that envelope a lot harder.
I mean, I will also say that I think a lot of this is how we consume the product now. You consume it
Mhm.
with a co-streamer. What do co-streamers
Yeah.
do in between the games? Like, are they always guaranteed to be watching? The product you're watching through the
No.
co-streamer, it's only 70% volume on the broadcast. Like, the broadcast doesn't have to keep you as much. The co-streamer is finding other ways to entertain you, which, look, that's where I think, like, Riot's co-streaming Pandora's box is really bad because you lose so much control over your own product. And yes, you're saving money for it. Like, yes, there is value if we're able to like get the games going as fast as possible. But man, like again, how people consume the product. Where's Cadrill's viewers versus the mainstream? Like, what was the Papa Smithy tweet about how the biggest independent variable for the success of this tournament was Cadrill going live? He's not wrong. There was a clip of Cadrill saying that he would do like he offered to be on LEC for free. They said no. That gives away the entire fucking game here, guys. Like, it is more valuable for him to sit on a stream and have the broadcast in the background than like actually invest all this money, time, and effort into the broadcast to like make it the best product possible, which I think that League's done for a very long time. So you consume the game differently now. Everything that the caller is bringing up, I agree. Like when the game's not on, yeah, you have to give fans more of a reason and more time and effort to give them a reason to actually watch and be entertained. But that reason is no longer the responsibility of the broadcast; it's the co-streamer, and that's where things have really changed.
Well,
So yeah,
we are going off. We've activated Cubby's trap card, and he's going off on
not wrong.
his rant.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong.
yeah.
I'm only saying I do want to make sure that we don't spend the next 20 minutes talking about co-streams. Which is to say that the last kind of thing on this topic is like you mentioned, caller. I know we've been disagreeing with you a lot, or I guess explaining a lot of stuff here. But Abel, you mentioned that like you can only learn about the players or teams, or you feel like most of the way you learn is through the matches and like what the casters are saying. I actually think that is a good thing because the
Yeah,
moments in
Yeah.
which you have people
not wrong.
most clued in is during the game. So like if I love Emily and Raz, but if Emily goes on a rant about a player on
Less people
the
watching at the
analyst
time.
desk, there's less people watching than if Kobe is like, okay, well, nobody's fighting for the next 5 minutes. Like, let me talk about this player and what I've learned, or something, or some stats that aren't getting piped into the casters and live for them to bring up. So, like, I actually think it's a good thing. And to Kobe's point earlier about the lower thirds and stuff, I think graphics and visual storytelling, those types of things, I think that's way better than us like scooting over to like an analyst desk or something for a lot of that stuff. And I think that analyst desk has value. I'm not saying we should cut it. I think they do a great job. I'm not trying to say they don't, but
I agree.
if you're the broadcast and you're like, what is the most efficient, effective way to let people learn about these players and to get the most maximum amount of people who are learning about it, it is like during the games, hands down. So, yeah. Abel, sorry, I know we went all over the place, but do you have any thoughts on anything we've just said?
That's I liked the general conversation and the explanation from the different viewpoints. I do agree. Like during the game is when most people are paying attention. I guess I'm just missing the old worlds like highlight reels from the teams as they introduce them.
I
Like
agree.
that vibe is
It
like
was
what I'm missing.
awesome
But
content, awesome on Twitter. Yeah, and the features team always crushed. But yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, I have heard that the budget for features and everything has gotten cut dramatically. So which is, should be a no surprise to anybody, but that is my understanding. So, that's I think part of the reason why we see less fancy stuff. And honestly, the stuff they still make is still really good, but at least at these international events, I have bigger issues with some of their contributions to North America. But uh, yeah, yeah. Either way, thank you so much for the call, Abel. Anything you want to shout out?
yeah. I do want to shout out the broadcast, not against them or against the format of the games going back and forth. Also shout out my wife who put my young child to bed during this call. And shout out to Resin Refresh, waiting for that to come back.
Did you see that the channel is no longer a Genshin channel?
Yeah.
It became a Riftbound channel. So it's going to be unlikely to come back because now it's all that stuff is hiding. But either way, thank you so much, Abel, for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Have a good night.
Everyone. All right, we've got another caller, or I've got another two callers. But first, I do want to give a shout out to Enchanted Travel. If you haven't seen the outros that I've been doing on my videos while I've been here, there's one up on the Inspired video. They did a really cool thing where they're a travel agency out of Nebraska. So very different than like the huge companies that I tend to work with or that you tend to see in these spaces, especially in the travel space. And they are just League of Legends fans. Originally TSM fans, now just sort of fan of North American teams, but they reached out to me actually at the end of last year, so over half a year now, and said, "Hey, we'd love to work with you. How can we make this work?" Especially knowing that they were not, it's a little different whenever you don't have somebody reaching out to you with a massive marketing budget that they're deploying across a ton of different influencers and content creators and Twitch ads and all that stuff. And so what we agreed on was they sent me on a little trip. I got to sort of experience their services and understand how they work. And in exchange, I would give them some promotion and shout outs on the stream. I just want to say, I know that a lot of people hear travel agency, and basically when they reached out to me, I thought that travel agency was like, okay, I'm going to have to pay fees for this stuff, or if people are trying to book with them, that's how that's going to be. No, actually, the really cool thing that I learned and what has made me feel comfortable, and I'm not saying this is the case with all travel agencies, but with Enchanted Travel, they do a thing where they basically get their take from or their cut from the hotels and resorts that they send you to. So they are, it's not going to cost you extra to work with them. You reach out, you just talk one-on-one with somebody who knows all about the resorts because they don't send you anywhere where somebody from their staff hasn't been before, so they're very familiar with all this stuff. They can help you with resorts, cruises, group tours, etc. And yeah, the nice thing is that you get basically a one-on-one experience with one of their agents, and it's not a thing where like, oh, something goes wrong, you have to call like a 1-800 number and talk to some customer support line and get everything clear through. They help you, and they actually what's really neat about them is that they book the whole trip if you want them to. So you can have them do the flight and then a shuttle service to pick you up and bring you to the resort, and then the resort itself, and they tell you all about the different things at the resort. They give you a heads up on how to avoid things like the resort giving you a hey buy timeshare type thing or whatever. They just know a lot about travel and how to handle stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and put their link into the description of this video if you're watching over on YouTube as a VOD afterwards, but also I'm going to share it in the chat. And I know the URL often resolves as Enchanted Honeymoons because they have both Enchanted Honeymoons and Enchanted Travel, but it's not just for honeymoons, so don't worry about that. You could go on this trip. I was not on a honeymoon, and I worked with them, so they have all sorts of different stuff. But yeah, really cool. Just worked with some authentic League of Legends esports fans on this type of thing, and also just like I think nowadays it might be sometimes nice to support the smaller businesses, the mom and pop shops, and all that stuff. So it was really cool to work with them. So Thanks so much to Enchanted Travel for the trip. Please go check them out. And if you do work with them, or if you do call them, you can always, by the way, you can always call them and compare. Talking to them is not gonna, you don't have to lock in anything. But if you do, you just mention my name, Travis, and they will hook you up with a cool little gift as well as part of the package that you're getting. So thank you so much to Enchanted Travel for the support and the partnership. All right, we've got our next caller here. It's none other than Basil. Basil, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from California.
California. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I kind of got a little bit of a two-part take. Part one is I think FlyQuest should be able to make it to the finals at MSI. And the second part of my take is that Inspired is the best jungler in the tournament.
All right, go ahead and expand.
I think pretty much every team except for Genji looks kind of shaky, or at least worse than they did last year. BLG, Knight and Ben, particularly Ben, have not been looking nearly solid in the LPL. I think the fact that AL1 is surprising. A lot of the bigger names just weren't performing, and I don't really think they're that strong of a first seed. T1 really shouldn't have qualified. I don't know what the hell happened to HLE, but they just giga choked.
Good take, Basil. That's a good one there, Basil. Good take.
Thank you.
Yep.
And the honest part is EU is just kind of bad this year. Since G2 blew up their roster, it went from a one-team region to kind of a zero-team region, and I just don't think they're good. And then with Inspired, I think... Do you want me to continue, or...
Yeah, it's fine.
With the Inspired part?
You're on a roll.
Oh, thank you. So with Inspired, I do legitimately think he's the best, or at very least, like, tied for first place with Tarzan, because the only other names you could really put up there are Canyon, and I think Canyon's been getting kind of overrated and glazed really hard because he's not playing well. He's just full clearing and has the best solo laners in the world. He has Chovy, he has King. He really doesn't have to do much. He doesn't have to be super proactive. He just has to power farm and play well mechanically in teamfights. I don't think he's really good off the cuff. I don't think he has super creative jungle paths. I think if early game gets a little like weird, I don't think he's going to do the same things that Inspired can do, that I've seen Inspired do, and just like clutch out kind of lost games. And Owner's been playing well, but I think because his solo lanes are kind of weak, he's much more limited in what he can do, and he doesn't really have the ability to be quite as creative as Inspired and make all the kind of like weird niche picks. He has to cover for Faker, he has to cover for Doran.
Jamada, is this putting you to sleep?
Okay.
You're falling out of the camera.
Change the chair level.
Yeah.
Uh,
Here,
Fine.
let's throw to Cubby first
No.
because you've gone first for
Yeah.
a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll let you process this. Cubby, what do you think? We could start with the first take.
All right, as someone that has FlyQuest going further than where most people would have them going, in order to do so, I have them losing to AL in the first round. Then I have them beating G2 and beating BLG. They'd have to beat AL, MCoy, or CFO to then make it to top 4, where they're likely going to face Genji or T1 at that point. Like, if you drop lower bracket early, you pretty much are having to beat every contender in the tournament in order to get to finals. I have FlyQuest in the top 3, and that's a lot higher than what a lot of other folks would have them, and requires them beating AL the second time they face in the bracket that I have. Again, as an analyst, I would put FlyQuest between, I'd probably have 4th or 5th best team here. I have a lot of faith that T1's going to show up and be good. I don't think that BLG... for me, BLG is actually the team where, again, we had a caller say that AL was fraudulent. I feel like BLG is way more fraudulent. I think their game is kind of limited right now. If they don't have a winning side lane, they kind of fall apart for me in mid-game. And Beishuan and An just do not sell me as a jungle support duo. And I think jungle support duo matters a ton right now. FlyQuest having to beat 2 LPL teams and go through a Genji or T1 at one point, that's kind of crazy. Inspired, I have Tarzan, Canyon, and Owner above him, and I don't think I have to explain myself with that. I think Inspired is a great player. I'm really excited to see him go up against Tarzan. Would I say that he's straight up better? No, but do I think it's gonna be a great series where I get to watch two great junglers go toe to toe? Absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Inspired beats some of those players. I'd be surprised if FlyQuest beats some of those teams those players are on. I think we'll put it that way. But yeah.
Jamada, are you ready? Have you finished loading?
I gave a very normal response to a pretty crazy take, Shimada, so you can have fun with this one.
Does the entire crux of your argument on your inspired placement rely on the fact that you think the other junglers, and obviously specifically Canyon, just has better laners? Like, what's the actual comparison that you have for Owner, for Tarzan? Because you gave your comparison for Canyon, right? You basically just said Canyon just autopilot. He's got the two best solo laners in the world. I don't think that's true, but well, the best solo laners in the world part, yes. The other part, no. But when it comes to Tarzan and when it comes to Owner, what would have you? We'll tackle the inspired part first because I think it's the easier one to tackle. What has you putting them above? Putting inspired above them.
So with Tarzan, it's a little bit harder because I think they did very similar things for their teams. I just think that the LPL overall looked kind of weak, and I don't really think it was challenged as much as Inspired was with Cloud9. I don't really think AL had much of a rival because it felt like every single LPL team was kind of on the verge of collapsing, and most of them did collapse pretty bad. The fact that IG made it as far as they did is kind of proof of that. I just think the LPL was weaker, and I think that Tarzan's more untested, but I could understand him being put above.
If you want to say the LPL is weaker, I think that's a fair argument. I just don't think it's weaker in that role outside of like Beishuan being up there. You know,
not just
Yeah.
that, but it's like they're weaker in comparison to the LCK, brother.
Yeah, and those
They're
two
not
junglers are nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I love Inspired as much as the next guy, and he is a fantastic jungler, and I do think he can hold a candle to the other three who are above him. But if you put me in a room and you said, hey, you know, roster building time, it's time to select a jungler, Inspired is the fourth choice. Like in every config of a roster that I want, Inspired is the fourth choice, and it's just not close, right? Like,
I'm sorry, we can't be spicy about it. Yeah,
yeah, like, what does Inspired do that the other junglers can't do better, aside from Inspired having a
pocket picks.
flexible champion pool?
Yeah,
That,
like
that's
different pocket picks.
Okay, that was my point. Oh, fuck.
Like
I was gonna say as an ocean.
that's fine. That's fine.
Does have
That
a
is
champion
absolutely
ocean.
fine. If that is the point
You're
you
right.
want to rely on or like
Yeah.
argue for, 100%, and it's a valid point. But if it's not that, then what else is it? Like, it's only a little bit more reasonable to talk about it because we're in Fearless. But even then, frankly, we've kind of seen it doesn't matter too much. Like, how many times in a lot of series that go to 5 do you see a jungler pinched for an option and it's like detrimental to the team? More often than not, it will be top, it will be ADC. Junglers don't really get fist. Yeah, support is the other main one. Like, junglers are pretty low on that list. I'd say they're probably fourth, maybe even fifth, man. Like, mid laners have a lot of shit to play too. So I think the one core strength that you could really talk about for Inspired over these other junglers doesn't really get things going. Like, the only thing really is like he plays so many weird champions that you can stun lock, Thorin into TPing in front of you when he's pressed E on Nunu. Like that's
He doesn't know what Nunu does.
He doesn't know what Nunu does. Like,
great moment. Great moment.
I don't know. I think that Owner plays aggressive champions better than Inspired does. I think Owner is probably better at stabilizing games than Inspired is. I think that Canyon is good at making a game volatile if he needs to make the game volatile, which is often not even really the case for Gen G. And as for Tarzan is basically just the LPL version of Inspired, but better in just about every way.
I would like even say maybe he has more stinker games, but that's also kind of the region, you know? Like they play a ton of games and like that just happens over there.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think the Inspired take is crazy. That guy is hard capped at 4th, and it's not even actually his fault. Like he's good, but the other
Those three
junglers are
guys
just
are unreal, unreal
just,
players. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Onar made like if it wasn't for Onar,
Or
T1
was the
wouldn't
glue.
even be here.
How
Oh
many
my
years
god.
how many years has he been the glue of that team? Like for real. Like
not
yeah.
only is it just too many years, but like if
Yeah.
Onar wasn't putting in a shift early on this split, oh my god, T1 would be serving up like Uber Eats deliveries right now for the next month. It would not be a productive time. They'll be waiting to go to EWC. So like, yeah, I just every other jungler kind of just has a slightly better rap sheet this year. Unfortunately, they've had tougher competition. I don't think Inspired has like you can't reasonably say that Inspired has been pushed further because he's had to jungle versus Blabber as
Can I make a
opposed to
question? I have a question then.
yes. Yeah, of
Do you
course, bro.
think Beige One is better than Blabber? Because I honestly don't. Not in spring. I think that he was pushed harder than Tarzan.
Not in spring, but like granted, only against a very shaky G2 and Gam.
Yeah, Beishuan's getting exposed at some point in this tournament. It's happening.
I think look, I already said actually because I just came off Power Spike actually, and I'll just repeat my point for Power Spike. If I hadn't seen play-ins and you said that BLG and Koi were going to play each other, I think it wouldn't have been a unreasonable take to say that El Yoya would probably do something to good old Beichuan that wouldn't be good to broadcast on the good old Twitch.tv.
I still like their jungle support duo better, like going in, and BOG showed good stuff.
I kind of want to agree, but like I think Beichuan played so well in play-ins that I've actually been won over, and I want to make this very, very, very clear. I had Beichuan at 7th coming into the tournament. I had him below Scumond. I had him below El Yoya. That is how poorly he played domestically. But he has won me over in 6 games. Beichuan might be better than Inspired this tournament, depending on what happens. Do you know how fucking crazy that is to say?
I was gonna say, to be fair, he beat Scumod, which is probably the worst Western jungler by a very large margin.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Like, I don't think he had,
I think it's a little bit more overblown than people make it out to be. But yes, like it is very clear Scumond is the weakest Western jungler. Yes.
I'm gonna ignore that and just say that we put some respect on Tatu's name, and I'm happy about that. That kid's not bad for being in his second split, you know.
Levi was fisting Scumod for most of that series too.
Yeah, man, it wasn't pretty. But yeah, I think your Inspired take is crazy. Peace and love though. FlyQuest also are not making it to finals. Hell no.
I think their ceiling's 3rd.
Yeah, their ceiling is definitely 3rd. Even when you look at the way the bracket could play out, it's like cool. Their feasible path would have to be they beat AL, and then they have to actually do what they didn't do versus Gen G last year now. When Gen G are arguably...
They should be the Thanos team.
Dare I say stronger.
If they show up the way that Gen G should show up, it's like another year where it should be a Gen G win, right? And it's just like, I'm just waiting to see how T1 looks against CFO. Like, is it going to be another year where it's like, Jesus Christ, T1 just sandbagged the entire regular season and showed up again, you know?
Like, I want to make it very clear. I want FlyQuest to do well because they are the only legitimate Western team at this tournament.
Ooh, I like that line.
G2 are frauds as of this moment in time. Koi did not win me over.
Yeah.
And have not... I think this hype is really overblown. And I get, like, we got to do it as a community. They're the champions. They came first. JoJo's North America. This team looked like the most coordinated of the top 4, and that is the reason why they're the first seed. All of those teams could beat each other. Like, it is the smallest circle of suck that you can really be involved in. FlyQuest have obviously been battling out of C9, but like I said earlier, like, top 2 teams from NA are better than the top 2 teams from EU. I stand on that. That is just like the floor and ceiling right now is better out of C9 and Fly than it is out of as of the 2 top teams right now from Europe, G2 and Koi, and that's just a fact.
Not
And I
unreasonable.
think those 2 are frauds. Like, very, very reasonably, in my opinion. So yeah, like, Fly are just they're legit. They've been together for pushing 18 months. They have an identity. They play into it. They prep well. But if you're asking me if I think they're going to be able to beat Genji, if you're asking me if I think they're going to be able to beat AL at least twice, if they're going to go through BL, it's too tough a mountain to climb. And I just don't see them doing it now.
But do you think AL, this is like a few of their players, I think, like first international tournament, at the very least Shanks, they are pretty untested versus FlyQuest, who did have a good showing at Worlds. They were in there for a while. They've been to, most of the team has been to at least 2 international tournaments, and Inspired and Pwipo have been to several. I think they're a bit more battle tested at the very least than AL is. And I could see AL kind of
Shanks
underperforming due to it.
Shanks had a
Also,
bad
that
split one
NA
finals.
solo queue.
Yeah, Shanks had a bad split one finals. I'll give you that. But yeah, he did
Yeah.
clutch the hell up for his playoff run this time around.
Yeah, he also did put Knight in a blunt in
Yeah.
finals.
Oh yeah.
Which, fair play to the kid, man.
Shanks is good.
think
He's
that was
gonna make a
Shanks-
lot of fans this event. I really believe that.
Yeah, I hope he does, because he's very young blood. You know, he spent a good couple of years on WE before he came to AO. I don't want to do like a full history check here, but like,
He was good there.
He was one of the mids where, if you're looking at like future prospects in 2022, 2023, it was like, yeah, Shanks, maybe Care. Those are like the 2 who you were like, yeah, these guys could do something a little bit special in a couple of years if they end up on a good roster. Here's Shanks now, and you know, first split he beat a lot of good mids. This split he had to do it again. Like, mid in the LPL is stacked, man. Like, you cannot be the champion without beating some world class all time mid laners. And yeah, I think asking, honestly, even FlyQuest, even Quad, maybe to be a guy who's already got that on his rap sheet consistently in lane is also going to be a difficult task. Like, I think just Fly have the potential to go third, fourth, easily, but things have to really, really go their way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see how things go. Anything that you want to shout out here at the end, Basil?
A few things. One, shout out to NZXT. Have an NZXT pre-built computer. Works wonderfully. 2, I just want to shout out the West. Obviously, my take is a little bit copium, a little bit hopium. I'm like 3 beers deep, and I was just looking to try to get that NA spirit up. But listen, there is no LEC and LTA, okay? We've got LEC players, we got Inspired Whippo. The LEC has JoJo, their best coach is a Canadian. Let's just all hope to do some damage against the East.
All right,
And,
I'm on board for it. I am.
Oh.
I sorry I had to kill your vibe, but yeah.
It's all good.
You are.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And lastly, shout out to the Twinks and shout out to the BBWs. Good night.
All right. Thank you to, speaking of shout outs, thank you to Clapper Cheeks for the 5 gifted subs. Decimaya, thank you for the prime. Sean Atonin, thank you for 80 months. Wickhelm, thank you for the 12 months. By the way, 80 months is crazy. 12 months, great. Raging Pianist with the 60 months. You guys really have some creative naming conventions on this show. It's very impressive. Okay, Cubby's grabbing our last caller. No new memberships over on YouTube, but just wanted to mention, YouTubers, you could try to compete with Twitch. They'd throw tons of support at the channel, and Bob and George really holds it down for all you. So if you feel like maybe becoming a member for $2.99, it's cheaper than a Twitch sub even. I'm trying to make it so easy for you all. You get access to new videos before they're ready available for everybody else. It's a sick deal. Rob is here. Rob, where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Troy, Michigan.
Troy, Michigan. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, my take is that the support meta right now is really engage dominated, and I think it's not super deep. There's maybe like 5 big engage champs plus a couple others that are really dominant. And I think what we'll see in the tournament is that the biggest decider for like these game 5 matches in Fearless is which teams and which players are going to be able to play the non-meta engagers or enchanters or some other picks well, and who's actually going to be able to find good support picks later on and make
Good
it work.
take. This
Oh
is
my
a good
God.
take. Yes. I mean,
Oh, I want
I
to
don't
kiss you
think
on the
it's like a
forehead.
hot. Oh, yeah, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. Where
That's
you
a
at with this one?
fantastic take. Oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah.
No, no, no. Yeah.
No, you're
This is
I'm sure
this is
Jamada's
so
talked
on the
about this
money.
as well, because like this has been a big thing. Like this is my whole thing about Vulcan and C9, right? And he won an Enchantress game in the finals, which I said I didn't think he could do, but like that was what they needed to do to win. Of course, that was a banger. Yeah, this has been a big talking point, I think, for a lot of the year, and I think definitely something that's gonna be really significant in this tournament. Because I not sure how much Jamada like you've talked about, obviously just coming off
Mm,
Pyrospike and like with some other friends,
yeah.
like how deep a team can go into their bag in games 3, 4, and 5. But I think it matters a lot. And we were talking about how this is one of the roles that's pinched, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was literally the GAM and G2 series game 5, um, where Elio goes Seraphine.
Mhm.
If that guy knows how to play Soraka, I think G2 actually don't get to play the game. Like
Ooh,
he picked a cool enchanter,
draft.
but he picked the wrong enchanter. I really implore you to go look at the draft.
Yeah, give me a sec.
Um, because Seraphine, does some very good things for that composition. I also just think they shouldn't have picked Callista, but
In
that's a
yeah,
slightly
in the
different
Tom, it can be
issue.
dangerous. That's
Yeah.
because Seraphine, you have a little bit more ways to. Oh, I guess the silence. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
so this is the thing. You're always in range to silence the W.
Yep. Yep.
You're playing into a center lane. Soraka is significantly better at stopping a first target from dying to Viego.
Mhm.
If that guy plays Soraka, I think Gam would have won that game because I don't think G2 particularly played like out of their minds. Like there was a 5-kill game in 30 minutes, right?
They also have 3 ways to get out of Seraphine ult.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
quite a few. Whereas if the targets on Gam's team just survive, which is what Soraka would do, yeah.
I thought Aatrox ran that draft. Like they needed a
I-
one-shot Aatrox, and a big part of that game 5 was that because he went Sundered Sky and Shojin, he didn't have the Sterix
he
gauge
didn't have
tenacity.
Sterex, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't have the
And
tenacity and Sterix, and he got one shot.
and you know what? If he had a big old meaty Soraka ult, I don't think he would have got one shot.
Okay.
So yeah, I 100% agree. It is so you can't even disagree with this take. I think if you disagree with this take, you just don't
You don't know ball.
view League of Legends correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way that Fearless is and the way that it works, it obviously rewards a deep champion pool. So this is almost like saying, the sky is blue, water makes you wet. But it's like one of those things that teams clearly don't seem to get right still, regardless, right? So I totally agree. I think it's gonna obviously reward players like Carrier, who this is part of your take that you obviously mentioned, but players like Busio, who have shown that they obviously have a wide and deep champion pool. Busio will be rewarded likely in a game 4 and a game 5 of a series. If he needs to pull out an enchanter, I anticipate that Busio would have one, ready to play. Off the top of my head, Kyle is actually one of the few. Kyle's got a Soroka game on record, right? It was Kyle that played the
Well,
one
it's
off weird
him and
Soroka
Tabe.
game.
Yeah, him and Tabe are the
Um,
chefs over there.
yeah. So like Kyle's done it. So I would expect also like Tabe is a fucking fantastic coach,
He
right?
is. I don't
Uh,
think he has as much advantage here as he does in LPL because I hate how LPL
mhm.
teams draft. But yes, I
Sure,
don't want to take
yeah,
away from him at all.
I
Yeah.
I definitely agree. And you know what? Even though I think that Alvaro's strengths lie predominantly in snap engages. So Rel and Rakan are like his premier picks. That guy can play an enchanter pretty damn well. So, players like that, at least here at the tournament, I would anticipate can do a fantastic job. I mean, bro, all of the support. I mean, first of all the supports are fucking great at this tournament. Except for maybe Duro, who, no shade to Duro, he's just having a rough time.
Got
It's
better.
hard to, yeah, he's gotten better, right?
He got
It's
better.
one thing, but when you're sat next to Ruler and then you also look past him and it's like, oh, Chobi Canyon Keen, it's hard to not, maybe buckle under the pressure sometimes.
He's a salary cap player,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But On lived through the peak enchanter meta of 2023. That is like the last enchanter meta that we had. And before that, it was like, I don't even know, what, 2018? The Ardent meta was like the time before. So I guess like technically we're almost due another enchanter meta. But yeah, I totally agree with this take. Those niche engage options, the enchanters. I think people don't play enough Taric, or if they play Taric, they pick it in a wrong spot. Is another
Champion
really,
breaks
really good
the game.
example.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
champion breaks the game disgustingly.
Yeah.
Not enough supports pick Milio. I mean, it's usually like you need to pick it with Lucian, I think, in comp, but not enough supports play Milio at all. That champ is silly.
I think you can do a Felios too. You get range gated as a Felios,
Yeah.
but there are some games where Felios Millie can be really good.
Yeah, for sure. And there's also I don't want to just list off every champion in the game that could be picked ever. But there's like an epidemic of supports blinding Braum as of late.
Yeah.
Do you know what champion fucks up the big mustache man?
Every
Zillion.
Enchantress. Yeah.
I mean, every
that's
enchanter,
a good one.
but
That's a good one.
Zillion. Oh my god! If somebody locks in support Zillion and I'm watching that game, I don't want to say what I'll do to them because I don't think it's suitable for this broadcast or this this show. But just know it would be good for them. They would enjoy it. People need to just pick more champs that are just weird, like direct counters, but then also like game breakers. I think is the important thing. Bard, like I actually hate pro Bard, but like a good Bard spot is really OP. And normally at game 4 and 5,
it's getting banned from Carrier. Yeah.
It's getting banned from Carrier, that's for sure. But like game 4-5, you're playing against, your hyper carries. Your honestly, your Aphelios might show up. Your Jinx will show up. Sivir will be there. All these champions, maybe even like Ashe, right? All of these champions hate playing against Bard. It is miserable. Always having to just basically flash Bardar, and then that's it. Like you don't have flash now to play against the rest of the team comp. Horrible. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with your take.
Yeah, this is a good take. It's been interesting. Like the only thing I'll add is I think it's been unique to see how teams have had different answers because I know part of your reasoning was like you are gonna have to play an Enchantress game, but also you're gonna have to find a way to find like those unique engagers. Seraphine's like the one champ that can kind of do both. Like we've seen a lot of Seraphine Ashe so far, which I'm surprised that we haven't. I think that there are answers into that lane. Like I think it's being over prioritized, and I think that'll change when the better teams take the stage. But that has been one where it's like, okay, we're able to find some engage and then hopefully just not get jumped on. It's just if you play that, I think you're kind of forced to play a 3v3 bot, which can be hard. Yeah, have we seen support Galio yet? Like I know that's something where like you can actually
it got flexed by Gam. Gam did it.
It was a great game.
Did he play it in the
really
Leona?
strong angle.
It's a good matchup in Leona.
Yeah, he played it into Leona. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely opportunity. Like as Jamada was rightfully saying earlier, it feels like the big supports are not Rel, Alistar, Rakan, Leona, and outside of that, you kind of have to find unique ways. Like then you'll see a Poppy sneak in or like a Poppy sneak in as an answer. But those are the big, we can blind pick this engage support. Who am I missing?
There's one more I'd like to bring up, which is weird.
Blitzcrank?
But I'm bringing it up because anytime I play with it in solo queue, it is the most terrifying thing to play versus. It's Fiddlesticks. I don't know what's in the water, and I don't know how it works. I don't know how it lanes.
The base damages are pretty insane.
But the base damages are really high.
Yeah.
Now, do I think it's good? No. But I'm seeing a correlation between Fiddlestick support being picked in my games and the Fiddlestick support player winning. So I think there might be some juice there, and I think Busio would probably be the person to do it as well.
Mhm.
I
Um,
guess they can flex it.
they could flex it, and it's certainly doable.
Great with Nocturne too.
Yeah,
True.
very good with Nocturne.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much, Rob. Anything that you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah, shout out you guys. Thanks for having me on the show. Shout out the NA broadcast. I've enjoyed watching so far this year, and have a great night, guys.
Awesome.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Rob. And we'll catch you next time. Now, before we get into shout outs and plugs, I do want to mention that we will be going into our prize picks prediction show after this. We'll say goodbye to Jamada and we'll welcome Mahir on. And we'll have contributions from Croissant, though he is not, unfortunately, here. He wasn't able to make it. He was going to. But Jamada, is that you smell something bad? Is that what happened?
Yeah, you said Mahir was around. I just,
Yeah.
Oh,
someone just,
Like a
I
dark
know.
aura? Yeah. All right, I got you.
yeah.
Regardless, oh yeah, unfortunately I'm sharing a hotel with him, so not a room, but he's in the building. All
Oh
right,
no.
let's get into some shout outs and plugs though. This was a really fun episode. Thank you for coming on, and it's a big episode because of MSI, so I'm glad we were able to get you on, Jamada. But Cubby, you want to start us off with shout outs and plugs?
Yeah, thanks, Shimada. This was fun. Shout out to my cousin John who got married, and also, I had a burger since we like to talk about food with Shimada. That was better than any burger I've had in LA for his late night food. This guy, he's got a YouTube called A Biker Dude, and he travels around with a skillet and makes smash burgers on the spot with his own seasoning, and that was the best burger I've had in years. It was so good.
Lemon pepper.
No, it was not on there. But if you're in the Chicagoland area, check him out because he goes to breweries and makes burgers, and he's the man. Also, I'm late on a video, but I got sent the Faker mouse, so I'll be doing some of that this week.
You got sent the
Um,
Faker mouse?
yeah. Well, the how and why is shout out to Ketong, who was a support that used to be on the ladder. He's now interning for the Razor team over there.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to give it some extra juice to
And to be
make
clear,
something nice
NZXT does
for an old
sponsor
player.
us for gaming accessories, so this is
Yeah,
Cubby
they do.
breaking our Hotline League contract with
Oh, that
NZXT. But
I didn't check
uh,
this before. It's late. That's my shout out to them, and we're gonna hope it.
oh, it's
Yeah,
okay.
shout out Keaton.
It's fine.
I support NZXT too. I use them for the last parts I
NZXT
got.
will forgive us. They're not as angry about these things. Jamada, what do you want to shout out? What do you want to plug?
I am gonna plug two things. My own Twitch channel, because if you want to catch the games, if you happen to be like myself in Europe, though I do tend to watch the games live, as you can tell, I'm up at 5:30 in the morning. I do review the games the day after.
That's cool.
Granted, I do it in 2 speed, so it's kind of a little bit more akin to
The way to do it.
honestly, the way that a coach does it.
Like a VOD review.
Because like a VOD review. Because I used to be a coach, so it's kind of the only way that I can consume those things out of habit. But it's a very good way to catch up on the games. It's mostly analytical content, but if that's your stuff, tap in. That's /Jamada on Twitch. And then the other thing is I'm doing informative /educative / maybe sometimes historical League content on my YouTube channel now. I released a spellbook video a couple of weeks ago. It did really, really well. And I have a new video coming out hopefully tomorrow, but likely Wednesday on Dr. Mundo, which I'm sure will likely ruffle some feathers because I think the community has some very strong thoughts and feelings on Dr. Mundo right now. And that is at Jamada on YouTube. It might be under Jamada Clips, one or the other, but type in Jamada and it should come up. Yeah, subscribe to that and look forward to the Mundo video, which should be dropping again next
You're gonna
day.
put the Mundo video. First off, I don't. You have me calling me Mundo. It's Mundo, Doctor Mundo. Secondly, You're gonna put that video on a Clips channel, even though it's like a full video.
So it's a YouTube
vertical.
short,
Yeah.
but it's vertical.
Oh,
So
I see.
That seems good.
it is not a actual long form video per se, but is a long form video in the standards of a short form video.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because YouTube Shorts just has really crazy reach, so it's significantly better to put that kind of content out, in my opinion, on YouTube Shorts. And then the actual long form content, where if you want to do something that's kind of longer than 5 minutes, well, at that point it can't be a short unless you split it up. So yeah, that kind of stuff would be on the actual channel as a video.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, thanks again for coming on. Thank you to Peter
Yeah, thanks,
Cottonmouth
man.
for the Prime, and thank you to Mochi Teddy for the membership. If you are at MSI and you're gonna be there, please, and you see me and you want to say hi, please, I am approachable. You can come say hi. Happy to say hi. It's always neat. We don't get a lot of these events, and so I love meeting people who come up and lie to me and say that they watch Hotline League every week when I know that they probably haven't seen it in 6 months. But if you're
No
watching
negative
and you
self-talk,
hear that,
Travis.
then you're good. Also, I'm going to try to put together a Magic thing on Sunday because there are not games on Sunday, and I love when I travel to meet people and play Magic with them. We'll probably try to do a Final Fantasy draft. I'm guessing it'll cost probably like 20, 25 bucks to do. But if you are interested in that, I'm trying to find a venue or location, but I'm working on that. But if you are, please go check out the Magic the Gathering channel on my Discord, discord.gg/Travis, if you want to hang out. And we'll try to see if we can pull anybody else to it. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. We're going to go straight into the prediction show, which will also be on YouTube. So if you're trying to catch that, that'll be good. And there's a bunch of interviews that will also be trickling out over the week on the channel, so stay tuned for more MSI coverage. But yeah, this has been Hotline League. We'll see you all next week, and thank God the hotel internet held up. Bye.
Video.